of taxes.
Who's doing the mumble recording?
Oh, I can
Make
do
Josh
that.
do
That's
it.
fine. Make Josh do it. I agree.
Well, but Josh isn't here, so he'll miss some good Easter eggs.
Yeah, someone's got to have a
Actually,
wired connection for that, man. That way you get the best quality you can.
Thanks, Joe.
Well,
I have a wired connection. I just freak out when I see all those streams to feed up.
I can see that we're streaming now because Discord started talking at me.
Discord?
Oh,
Well, I had it set up to stream back me on Discord. I had pressed play after you dropped the link, but before you started streaming.
Oh.
So
okay. Well, Tony is not feeling well, and he's talking about maybe even not doing a distro for the next distro hoppers.
Oh, no.
So it'll just be me and Dale.
And he'll just talk about you guys' distros, or he won't participate.
We don't know yet, but if he
Okay.
doesn't participate, then we can re-sculpt the script to be me and Dale.
Yeah. It sucks that he's having health problems.
Yeah. Well, he's got some doctor's appointments scheduled to look at them. Not necessarily fix them, but to find out what they are.
Yeah, well, knowing is kind of important.
Yeah.
Yes. Can't fix it till you know.
Exactly.
Well, my workers' comp totally dropped the ball. I'm sitting here with the disc of my MRI, and they've never scheduled me to go back to see the doctor to interpret it.
Yeah, you'll have to chase him on that.
I've chased them. It doesn't do any good. It takes a minimum of 7 weeks for them to take any action, and by that time, it ain't what it was, you know?
Yeah.
Anyhow.
All right, I'm going to head back so we can get started.
Okay.
Get started with what?
We need a Josh. So we're down to the Fab 4 today, huh?
Yeah.
All you need is Josh. Yep.
Ooh.
Da-da-da.
Edith Hamilton's mythology got converted into an audiobook. That's kind of awesome.
I don't know that author yet.
Oh, that's an older book.
Yeah, I've been falling down on a lot of things. There's just so much going on in my life, I can't really keep track of it all, let alone get anything new brought in. I have 2 jobs and no paycheck.
Well, I haven't reread that Kevin Mitnick book yet because we're not doing it this week. But
Okay.
like I said, it'll only take me like 3 hours to go through it again.
Yeah. I turned down my volume on the mic.
Sounds good.
Good. Glad to hear it. I better turn off my phone in case it rings. Oh, it was really weird. All last night I heard a buzz from up on my computer desk, and my phone is next to me, my tablet is next to me, and I'm going, what the hell is on my computer desk that's on and buzzing? Turned out to be my digital watch that I never use. I had it plugged in to charge. Telling me it was full. Get me off of here. Yeah.
Oh, and that rotary tool of yours is cordless. How long does the battery last?
I don't know yet. And it's USB charging.
Cool.
They don't even give you a charger. They just give you a standard USB cord for it. It's a micro. USB 2 micro.
Cool.
But yeah, it's cool.
Oh, Leo number 2 is here.
Ah, does that mean our stream's going live?
Oh, the stream was already live.
Oh, so that's just Leo.
Yeah.
So the real question is, where is Josh?
That is the real question.
He did not.
He added in his script.
He sure did, but he's not here.
We have a phone number?
We do not.
Nope.
Where are you, Josh?
We'll give him some time. Not like we normally start on time anyway.
I know, right? We still got about 5 minutes before we're late.
Yeah. It's too bad we won't be able to do the 1, 2, 3s.
I found out about a new distro today. I've been talking a little bit about it on Telegram.
Is this the one that was 30 gigs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pin guy?
It's 30 gigs because they put the whole internet on it. That's why it's so big.
Oh, is it the one with
500 apps,
Wikipedia
man.
built in? Oh.
Yeah. And Dan had it right. It's like a pie. You just image a disk with it, and then it will likely expand to the rest of the disk. But I mean, you don't need to. Like, it doesn't need to expand unless you're saving files. But I mean, I guess you could do cloud stuff for that if you want.
I know Pin guy was huge, but I don't think it was quite 30 gigs.
Yeah. Yeah, it's huge. Huge is the right word.
Huge.
Yeah, well, the guy that I was talking to who didn't seem to be able to handle criticism or even questions, but was not the dev. Yeah, he was calling me names like saying I was bullying him and stuff. And I'm going, what? Huh? But,
yeah, I don't know.
You were bullying people, Moss?
Do I?
Not that I'm aware.
Yeah, well, anyhow, basically, he has tried Endless OS and says this is dozens of times faster.
Then what?
Than Endless OS.
Oh.
This is called iLinux, and I wonder where they got that name from. I wonder if Apple is going to sue them.
I doubt it.
It seems unlikely. They don't have the monopoly on starting words with I.
They think they do.
I was going to say, didn't they sue some folks for that? I think
Yeah,
they did.
they did.
And rounded corners. Sir, no one can have rounded corners except for Apple.
They sue people for everything.
I know. And does iLinux have the funds to defend themselves in court? Exactly.
He's in Europe.
Ooh, I wonder. I wonder.
Oof.
Apple's in Europe too.
Micro Center has the Ender 3 Pro on sale for $189.
You know, I always forget that they not only ship, but they do Black Friday too. Oh, there's
Cyber Monday. Yeah.
There he is.
Hey, sorry.
Hey, no worries, man.
I didn't realize what time it was.
Yeah, we're getting worried about you.
Well, I paged him on Telegram. I don't know if that helped.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
No, I didn't have my phone with me, so. Well, my wife's phone's on military time, and I don't know what it is. So I was looking at 1500. Oh,
14,
that must be
sir. Oh yeah, 15. Yeah,
15
for
here.
you,
Yeah.
15.
You got your Audacity ready?
Give me 1 second here.
Yeah, let me do that. We were just BSing, man. I didn't even do any of that stuff. Let me pretend like I was ready the whole time.
Well, I don't mind being Tony for the countdowns.
Yay!
We already got the Mumble recording
actually,
going, and we already have the live stream going.
I've got a loud fan back here doing a little mining. I gotta turn that off.
Oh, prices shoot up, so you start mining again?
Well, I've been mining this for a little while, but it doesn't seem apropos until the price
Well,
goes
what,
crazy.
what are you mining?
Monero.
Monero, okay.
Okay, I think I got it set
And
up.
that's mostly because I don't want to
You-
dedicate my beautiful RX 5700 XT to mining Ethereum or something for nice hash to convert to Bitcoin. I do
Right.
have a couple other video cards that I might dedicate to something like that, but I think the two 270s that I've got they would mine. I don't know how efficiently. I think they don't have enough memory to mine Ethereum, so unless NiceHash is well, they probably figure it out as far as all that goes. So I don't know. Maybe. Who knows? Who's Jet,
Yeah.
by the way, up there in Distro Hoppers?
Who's what?
Jet.
I do not know Jet.
Me either. I hope Jet doesn't come in here. They are moving around.
Woo, Jet.
How did somebody get our server information?
I imagine an internet scan would bring it up. Yeah, look slow enough. They're coming down.
Wait,
Watch.
what happened? Oh, gee, that's weird.
Watch, here it comes.
What?
We're gonna have
Jet.
to start password protecting our server.
Oh no, back up. Thanks, Jet. You're the best. Maybe.
I mean,
Hey, there you go. Okay.
I don't
But
think we
honestly,
ever put it on the
well-
show or anything.
No, we need to. What we need to do is roll our own because we're missing a bit of control from this one, and it fails down to TCP all the time, which means lots of drop packets, which means choppier audio on the stream if there's any network
Well,
issues.
I'm willing to set one up if somebody else is willing to do a backup.
I can do that. Well, we do have the
Okay.
backup with HPR, but I can do another one. I
Yeah.
don't mind.
Okay. I used to have one on ocean droplet.
Yeah, that's what I planned on doing.
I thought we had set one up there. My buddy's DigitalOcean droplet.
I don't know. I don't think so. Not me, anyway. Anyway, now that
We're
that's over,
ready for
we
a
ready?
silence check?
Yeah, I think we're ready.
Yep.
Okay, it's a 3, 2, 1, and turn it on. 3, 2, 1. Okay, that should be good enough.
Cool.
I had a couple cars go by. I don't know if you heard them.
I didn't hear anything.
Good.
Dynamic mics, man.
Well, let's get our sync 0 then.
Okay.
3, 2, 1, 0.
Zero.
Oh yeah.
It's up to you, Leo.
Is it though?
Yes, it
Hang
is.
on. What I need to do, hang on, is get into the YouTube chat. I don't know if I've missed anything or not. Where is
Suppose
it?
I should bring up the show notes or something.
Yeah, that
Right.
would help.
Yeah, it might. It might. Let me go to the YouTubes. To the YouTubes. YouTubes. Am I signed in? Yes, I am. Oh, I didn't miss anything.
Well, take it, Leo.
All right. Oh, wait, hang on. What I had forgotten to do was get the music going.
Oh,
There we go.
Did we fill in our feedback?
What? Oh, yeah, I did.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's good. We're good.
Yeah, I don't think I got any feedback this time around.
All right. Here we go.
Everybody's just sending it to Leo directly.
Yeah, it is. All right, here we go. Welcome to mintCast, the podcast by the Linux Mint community for all users of Linux. This is episode 349. This is episode 349.5. Livestream information is at mintcast.org/livestream. We're in the mintcast channel in IRC at irc.spotchat.org. If you see something you'd like to hear about, tell us. Send us email at mintcast@mintcast.org. Join us live on YouTube. Post at the mintcast subreddit. Chat with us on Telegram, Discord, Facebook, or post directly at mintcast.org. This is Leo, and with me today is Joe,
Hello.
Moss,
Hi there.
and Josh.
Hey, how you doing?
We're recording on Sunday, November 29th. Is that right? November's already over? Ooh, help me.
That's the way it goes.
Yeah. First up, in our wanderings, I have another helping of pie. Moss gets spooked. Josh changes up the desktop, and Joe strips. Then in the news, OpenSUSE's going public. Pine64 feels the plasma, and Linux gets ray tracing. In security, kill switches, and a reminder that NAT ain't a firewall. In our intersection, we talk Docker, Openvpn, and transmission. And finally, the feedback and a couple of suggestions. Well, I've been playing more Pi games. I dug up an old Pi 2 that I've had for years. I don't know. I probably bought it maybe a couple of months after the Pi 2's launched. So whenever that was, what was that, like 2017, 2016 or something? And for, I don't know, about a year, it's probably just been living in a box, not doing anything. So with all of this talk of Pi this and Pi that, I had to bring it out. I had to figure out something to do with it because it was just sitting there not getting used, and I felt bad about that. So I brought it out, and I got Diet Pi on it, which is a fantastic tool to, if you don't want to mess with the setup of, I guess, more involved things, you want to use Diet Pi. It'll do all the heavy lifting for you. It's got scripts for a lot of different things. Joe, I know you've talked about Mopedy before. It's got all of that. You literally just go down the list and check. I want all that. Click enter, and I don't know, depending on which Pi you've got, 1 to 20 minutes later, it's all up and running and ready to go. One of the other cool things about Diet Pi is that it will give you statistics like temperature, which is kind of important, especially for the new Pi 4. And it'll just kind of let you know what's going on. It's got HTOP installed by default, though I don't know if that's a Raspbian thing or not. Diet Pi just is Raspbian with a ton of scripts and a few terminal-based UIs built into it. So it's fantastic. It is great. So I've got it running. Oh, go ahead.
Is it stripped down Raspbian with Diet Pi added in, or is it full Raspbian with Diet Pi added in?
It's Raspbian Lite, but
okay.
in the terminal UI, you get the option to install LXQT, XFCE, or some window manager that I imagine would even be lighter than the previous two. So you can go GUI with Diet Pi. If you think about the way that task cell works in Ubuntu, that's pretty much what Diet Pi is. It's just task cell for things that normally go on a Pi. And you know what? Let me just look it up, because it's got everything. Seriously, the things that you care about are probably there ready to go. So as far as desktops go, you've got LXDE, LXQT, Mate, and XFCE. It says alternative unique desktop. I don't know what it is. GNU Step. I've never used it before, so I don't know. But I know you're a fan of VNC, not VNC. What's the one? the No
X2Go?
Machine open source alternative. Yeah, X2Go. The Moss, it's got Kodi for you. The My MPD, OMPD, Subsonic, AirSonic. It runs Plex, MB. Not that
Now,
you need to
AirSonic
anymore. Yeah.
is just a fork of Subsonic,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
but they're both, well, they're extremely useful.
Yeah, definitely. I think I get most of my stuff done with Plex, which is why I wouldn't use it. But I mean, the
Well-
fact that it's there is fantastic, and it's just audio.
Well, Subsonic and AirSonic can both do video, but yeah,
Oh.
they're mostly for audio.
Right. And so for folks that do the Usenet thing, there's SAB and ZPD, and then sonar, radar, lidar, couch potato jacket, that kind of thing. And tons of like Minecraft servers and all that other stuff. If you don't want to fuss with Nextcloud, it's built in. So one of the things that I plan on doing with I don't know, I have to buy more pies, man. I need more pies in my life. And one of the things I want to do with it is run
Well,
Git.
I bet Micro Center is going to have a sale on the Pi Zero, and that'll do
Yeah.
everything that the Pi 2 will do, and it's a whole lot cheaper.
Yeah. So, I do want a physical Ethernet port. That's pretty important to me. But Git is one thing that I want to do. I may end up doing that ultimately with this Pi 2. But Git because I take a lot of notes in Markdown, and Git just seems like a really easy way to handle those in a distributed kind of way. Because there's no telling where I may be taking notes. So that is something that I want to try out and just see. And Git is basically GitHub, but your own on your own hardware at home. So it's just really cool stuff. And then I've got a Pi 1 that I need to figure out what to do with. So this was like when the Pis first came out, I bought one. And so it doesn't do much, right? Plays Nintendo. That's about it. But I was thinking about hooking this up to the back of a monitor and letting the monitor show like a multiple session, like TMUX. I wanted to have a bunch of terminals in each quadrant and running, something like BPyTop or HTOP or something like that. So I really just want blinking lights, and that is something that a Pi 1 can do for me pretty well. But kind of a callback to the last episode, I had that Pi 4 working as Nextcloud. Yep. I had said that I was going to decommission my i7-2630QM from doing Nextcloud duty, and yep, I did it. The Pi was just running too well. It is fantastic. It runs Nextcloud way better than I imagined when I got it started, and it's still working way better than I could have ever hoped for. So I am happy. These Pis are actually really good at just doing little things that you would normally use a VM for. And yeah, I have VMs. I've decommissioned a VM for that Pi 2 already. It's just nice. They're just nice. I can't express how much I enjoy these little Pis just doing little things for me at what, like 3 watts? Yeah, can't beat that. Anyway, that'll do it for me. So, Moss, what are you up to?
Well, I thought I had a problem with the Fuzz Z400. And before I determined what the problem was, I grabbed my now repaired mini box and hooked it up. Just as I was tightening the screws on the case, I saw that my tablet, which had been plugged in for charging, was sitting on the keyboard. Beep, 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 beep. Problem solved, but too late to go back. I had to reinstall everything on the Mini's SSD except Mint and Manjaro, probably having to do with having been installed on a completely different computer, Xeon and NVIDIA instead of i3 and Intel. I've added more partitions to my Kudu's 1TB SSD. I now have 10 distro partitions, one of them unused. I installed Enso OS, and I'm probably going to review that for the next distro hoppers. I'm also trying 4M Linux on a USB stick, as it seems to be a puppy-like version of Arch. I had a lot of other issues, but I'll save that for the next distro hoppers, which should be out right about the time of the next mintCast. Speaking of distro hoppers, we now have 4 episodes with more than 500 downloads each. One of those is over 600, and only 4 are under 400. I think we did episode 17 recently. We're averaging 463 downloads per episode. Oh, we have 18 episodes. That's right. Episode 18 featured Dale Miracle live in studio for the first time. Dale covers distros not made for beginners, which is a welcome addition to the show. The next episode is currently scheduled to be recorded on December 9th. I've been getting a few days' work as a substitute teacher, but they keep closing the schools. Last week it was that they didn't have enough healthy bus drivers. Next week it's that they don't have enough healthy teachers and subs. I did get paychecks from Granger Schools, All Women Housed, and finally from Census 2020. I'm still way behind on a lot of things, paying for bills and things, but I got at least all the money I am due. But it has been a long time since I actually had a paycheck, and it felt good to get one finally. I'm reading the Kevin Mitnick book some of the guys on the team have been reading. It did not convince me why I need that much security, and completely convinced me that I won't be secure no matter how much time, effort, and money I spend. So why bother? I'm about to give up and go give Google all my money.
Wait, hold on. All right, let's do it. So we got reviews of Chromium incoming from you now?
Edge.
You know, hold on. One Chromium based browser that you might get along with is Brave. It's got a lot of privacy features built in, and it runs fairly quickly.
Well, they did have some leaks back when. Long ago.
Name one tech company or group that hasn't had some kind of mishap, and we've forgiven all of them by now.
We have? I
thought
quit.
So. Wait, hold on.
Well,
who
I
do we
stopped
hate?
using PIA.
Oh, see, and you know, Joe and I are still on that, and they were sold to that company, the private equity firm.
Yeah,
Nothing
and now they
so
have all
far.
their servers.
Yep. So
Yeah,
when you get done, I want to talk a little bit more about some alternatives to PIA.
Well, I am using Surfshark, but does not have a good Linux app, and in fact, really only works in Ubuntu type distros.
And I did mention before that Kevin Mitnick took paranoia to a whole new level, but I guess he would have reason.
He would.
Well, there's a difference between being secure on the internet and being anonymous.
Right.
You don't need to do everything
Exactly.
he does to be secure.
Exactly. You do not need to be anonymous on the internet, but you do need to be secure, and he's got a lot of information for both types of people.
Right.
Well, I don't think he separates it very well.
But,
So I get the idea. I have to have a whole team of crew members to keep me safe.
Well, the name of the book is The Art of Invisibility. So, I mean, the book is geared toward people that want to be anonymous on the internet, as anonymous as you possibly can. But, you know, if you take even one of the pieces of advice that he gives to do that, then you're in a really good position to at least be secure. So, I mean, he's really laying out for you what kind of danger there is out there.
Let's hold off on the rest of this conversation until next
This is
show.
just the back of the book. This is the back of the book summary, man.
Right.
But you're right.
Tune in next time.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So for those that are listening live, and for those that are getting this in the podcast form, on the last episode we pitched reading a book by Kevin Mitnick, The Art of Invisibility. I needed a little extra time, so we're pushing that. And I don't even know what we're going to call this. It's not really a book review. We're just going to be the bookcast on the next episode. But we're going to be talking about, you know,
Joe and I have been doing book club all along.
That's true, right? But now we're bringing it to everybody. And yeah, so we're going to focus on some of the things that Kevin Mitnick talks about in his book. So we'll spend a lot of time next episode talking about that.
Well, back to the book reviews. We are working our way through Proven Guilty in the Dresden Files series, almost halfway through. And since my teeth don't want to work too well, why don't I pass off to Josh?
Well, one thing. So about the VPN, if you are interested, and this is only for the live people, because by the time this comes out on Tuesday night, this will have long expired. But Proton Mail has a Black Friday deal going on right now, which is 50% off. It's like 30 to 50% off depending on the thing that you get. But if you want everything and early access to Proton Drive, I think it's $180 for the year. or I'm sorry, for 2 years. For 2 years, so it's $90 a year for everything that Proton offers. And I'm really considering getting it because I
think
love
PIA
Proton
is
Mail.
still cheaper.
At
No,
Surfshark, I paid $110 for 2 years.
Well, hold on, but Proton VPN is just part of the package.
I understand that, but
yeah.
on the other hand, a lot of it is still promised. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you get access to Drive. Like, it is available for you. They are just not giving you the full scope of your storage right off the bat because it's in beta.
And right now, the way things are, most places are leaving Cyber Monday open like all week.
Actually, no,
Yeah.
I paid $85 for 2 years, but
Yeah,
then
and
their
that's not
price has
bad.
gone up.
Yeah, that's not bad. I think you can get Proton VPN. It's a little more expensive.
Yeah, well, I got Proton VPN. I think it was like $4 something. I was paying for it because I got it on a deal probably 2 months back or so.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what it is alone now, but I know it was like I think it was like $4.75 or something like that. I got it for a month.
Yeah, and that's not bad. I mean, if you're paying for it
no,
per
that's
month,
the only reason why I got it.
Yeah,
Well,
and
yeah,
I'm looking
I
at
was
doing the 2-year thing here, and I think they said it was only going to go up by 5% the next year. So I mean, you get the discounted price for seemingly at least 4 years, and then I don't know what happens on year 5, but I guess we'll see.
I will stress that I was a little bit happier with Molvad than I am with Surfshark, but Molvad was €4 a month, and Surfshark came out to, I think with the deal I got, it was like $1.75 a month, but I had to pay for 2 years.
Oh yeah, that's still not bad though. But
Yeah,
the great thing about Molvad though is that it's WireGuard, and one of the good things about PIA is that it's WireGuard now. You can choose. I think you can choose Openvpn and WireGuard.
Surfshark is WireGuard for everything but Linux.
Yeah, which is weird.
You have WireGuard on Android, you have it on Windows, you have it on Mac, but they haven't worked it for Linux yet.
Yeah,
Huh,
and Proton
that's weird.
VPN is not WireGuard. It is Openvpn. I think is probably one of the better ones. But I mean, here's the thing that surprised me when I was looking into it.
Okay,
Proton VPN actually funds WireGuard development, so it's on the roadmap. It's just not there yet.
Okay, I looked at Proton at the time that I signed up for Surfshark, and they do have WireGuard on some nodes, but only on the premium nodes, so you have to pay for it to get it. You can't get WireGuard on the free nodes.
Ooh, so I may be able.
I haven't really
Okay,
looked
you know
into
what?
it or not.
That might push me over. That might make me do it. I think I'm going to do it.
Well, I know they're going to do it eventually. They have to. I mean, it's so much better than OpenVPN as far as security and all that because it's so much less code.
Yeah, and I just love the encryption protocol. Cha-cha.
It does amaze me how many VPNs for Linux only have an app that will work on Ubuntu and Ubuntu-based distros.
I mean, it's a small target, I mean, we are a small group of people, and if you're trying to target the biggest amount of us, then, well, that's going to be on Debian and Ubuntu.
Yep. So I have to be insecure when I'm on OpenMandriva.
Yeah, of course. that might convince you to come back over to Ubuntu.
Well, I don't leave anything. I just put another one on.
All right,
let's get on to Josh.
Yeah.
Come on, Josh, your turn.
All right. Well, so I've been working with Plasma Desktop for the past, I'd say probably a little more than 2 weeks because I started it probably about 2 days before the last mintCast, and I've been really trying to give it a good shot because I just have never found one that I can just install and leave it and be like, oh, this is good right from the start. Like all of them I have to tweak. And so the first one I tried out, which was OpenSUSE Tumbleweed, their Plasma, because it's very plain. There's not too much. It's almost like KDE Neon a little bit. They do tweak some things, but it's very vanilla. There's not much changed, and I there's so much I can't deal with Plasma. It's a stock. The look and feel.
Hold on. Why? What's wrong with it? You got to tell me.
Okay. So the look and feel, it's hard to explain, like, especially the look and feel. Like, if you just want a desktop, it looks great, it looks wonderful, but I want, like, dark mode on everything. I want all my fonts to be exactly the same size and everything, except for maybe, like, the taskbar fonts maybe a little smaller. But it's, like, it's so hard to change all of that in Plasma. Like, there's so many settings inside of other settings inside of other settings to get everything perfect. Like, okay, so on Linux Mint Cinnamon, any Cinnamon desktop, if you change the aspect ratio from, or not aspect ratio, the percentage, like 100%, 125% of the display, if you change that to 125%, 150, 175, everything scales properly, everything scales up. Now, when you do it with Plasma, the panel at the bottom stays small, no matter what you do to it. Now, at first I was like, well, this is stupid. Why isn't it working? And then I realized you can adjust the size of the panel.
Yeah.
But I don't, right. But I don't understand why they don't just adjust it up when you do that with the percentages of the ratio. I'm not sure what that's called. I forget. But fractional scaling, that's what I was thinking of. So like on my Dell, it's technically a 1080p display, but it's 13 inches, so it's high DPI. So everything's super small when you start out. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to set the fractional scaling to 125% like I do on Cinnamon, and it'll be fine. I did that, and everything was all screwed up. Some of the fonts were too small in the panel, and then some of the fonts were too big on other things like Discover. The fonts were like huge. I don't know why it did that. So I had to go in and tweak every little thing just a little bit to get it looking perfect like I wanted it. And then even when I got it to be how I wanted it, it still looked wrong. I don't know. There was something just not right. I don't know if it was fuzzy, like the fonts weren't like smooth. They were like, had like a I don't know, like a glow to them almost. It looked like.
Interesting.
But that was on OpenSUSE Tumbleweed, because I figured that's the most vanilla that is a rolling release, because I was trying out rolling releases too to try to, see how well they were going to go. And I really gave it a shot. I like, it's so hard. And with SUSE, see, I don't like this. I don't like their package manager, or whatever, the software center for them,
Zipper.
Discover.
Oh,
No,
I see.
not
Yeah, I
sorry,
got you.
sorry, not OpenSUSE.
Oh.
No, not OpenSUSE. KDE's Discover. Is that what it's called, right?
Yeah,
Is that
yeah.
That I can't stand. It always does something wrong. That when I'm trying to search for something, it doesn't give me the right things. It gives me too many things. I'm searching for the item, I can't find it. And then when I download it, especially on SUSE, and you're not supposed to use it on SUSE because you're supposed to use YAST. But if you use it on SUSE at all, it screws up everything. Dependencies aren't met, and it's a disaster. And I don't like it in the first place.
I was gonna say, maybe that was the biggest reason that Discover got you on that one, because I don't think they put much attention to it.
But even on KDE Neon, I don't like the look of it. I don't like how it works. I'd much rather just use apt and install everything on I don't know. It's just, it rubs me wrong. I don't know what to say. It's my opinion. It's not like, I'm saying, Discover's horrible. But to me, I don't know. I just can't get along with it. So I got rid of OpenSUSE Tumbleweed Plasma, and I installed Manjaro Plasma, and that is way better out of the gate look wise. It looks better, and they use their own software center and everything. Like OpenSUSE Tumbleweed does use YAST and everything to get software, but they also have Discover there for some reason. I don't know why they don't just get rid of it, because it doesn't work right.
Right.
I think it's because they keep it so vanilla that they just keep everything in there. They don't get rid of pretty much anything. They just tweak a couple things, and that's it.
The downside to all that is that you're just supposed to know. Like, you're supposed to have gone to the blog and read that you don't use Discover. Like, who tells you this? Nobody tells you this. It's not in the welcome screen or anything.
No, not at all. I actually did. I forgot about that. I did look for that to see, if it said anything, and it does not. On the forums it does, but nowhere on the desktop does it say don't use Discover. But anyway, so then I used the Manjaro Plasma, and with any Plasma, whenever you right click on anything, like the folder, desktop, whatever, it doesn't give you an open to terminal dialog right there. It says, I think it says activities or something like that. It's something like a more option. And then you click that, and then it gives you like 3 options, and one of the options is open to terminal. Well, I like.
So hold on, that's not a Plasma default. In KDE Neon, it does. It does
in
give
Neon,
you the.
it does do that. Okay.
Yeah, and
I
that's
figured
as plain KDE as you get. So yeah, when you right click, you get
Right.
open terminal here, just right there in the thing. No, you don't have to go to the activities area.
Yeah. See, I didn't get that on any of them, OpenSUSE or Manjaro. I didn't get, when you right clicked, it did not say open in terminal right away. I didn't try KDE Neon because I was trying to use rolling releases, even though I did check out FarenOS because I always have looked at them as a really good looking distro in general. But yeah, I was trying to stick to the rolling releases, and technically Faren and Neon are pseudo rolling releases because their desktops just keep up to date and everything else stays on Ubuntu base. But anyway, yeah, and I explained about the high DPI situation. That still was a problem in Manjaro when I changed it to that. Yeah, it's just everything doesn't scale like it should. I don't know why they have it like that, but maybe everything's so modular in Plasma that they just don't link it because they want you to be able to change everything. I don't know. So let's see here. Yeah. Oh, and also, I did find out that, well, I knew this, but I didn't think about it at the time. You have to change the GTK theme too, because it won't, all your GTK stuff will be whatever the default is if you don't change that. So, and the thing with Manjaro is their software center is GTK. So when you have everything else dark, everything looks great, and then you open their software center and it's blinding white, and you're like, oh, what did I do wrong? And then not only that, but it takes forever to figure out where to change the GTK theme. You got to go into your settings, then you have to go to, I think it's application settings, or application look and feel, something like that. And then at the bottom it says change your GTK theme. And then you gotta go through all that to get to that, and then you can change it. And then not only that, but all the themes that you have for Plasma are not in the GTK theme. So you just gotta select if you want dark mode. Most of the time, if you select Breeze Dark, that'll change it to something that looks similar but not exact to your other theme, because unless you have Breeze on everything, which I don't, I usually have something else that's a little darker than Breeze, then it just doesn't look right. It doesn't look the same. It's slightly off, like it'll be a little grayer than the other theme. Now, if you have everything Breeze Dark, then everything will look the same, but I don't.
You should try Sweet.
What's that? The theme?
Sweet is a KDE theme, yeah.
Is it dark? Like?
Oh, yeah.
Does it have a GTK offshoot as well? Because otherwise I won't fix the other issue that he's having.
Yeah, that's the thing. Well, I'll have to look into that, but yeah, that's I just like everything being the same. I don't know. It's just it's not a problem with Plasma at all. Like, it functions perfectly. Everything works great with Plasma. I'm not batting them at all because I love the way they work things, certain things I should say, and just the look and feel. And I'm looking at the screen all day long, so I need to look precise for me.
Well, to Josh, to Moss's credit, Sweet does have a GTK alternative, and yeah. So I have to admit I'm in Plasma right now. So what you were talking about before, Josh, is actually fairly easy to get to under Appearance. It's application style, and then you can choose. Yep, and then right down there, it's configure GNOME GTK application style.
Right.
And there is, it's Breeze. I always add in the Chrome OS one as well. But getting new styles is actually really easy. So I found out. Sweet was there by clicking on Get New Application Styles and typing in Sweet, and there it was. So, I mean, yes.
Yeah, getting themes for Plasma is so easy. Like, it is easier than almost anything. Like, Cinnamon is probably the closest to getting because all you do is click on that. But the difference between Cinnamon and Plasma definitely is the fact that Plasma, you can change each different thing, and Cinnamon, you don't have as much granular control over that kind of theming. Like Plasma, you can change the top bar to be different than everything else, and I think you can in Cinnamon, but it's not as easy as just downloading a theme and applying it. You have to find it, and then you have to put it in the right folder in Cinnamon. But anyway.
Yeah, I think to Plasma's credit, though, if you stick with Breeze, it looks fine.
Oh, yeah, if you stick with Breeze, everything's perfect, but I just need it darker than Breeze.
Yeah, and then, the scaling is going to probably break stuff. Because I think, for the most part, 1366 by 768 is still the most popular screen resolution out there. So scaling for the vast majority of folks is just not a thing that they do.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a regular anything, I forget what they consider high DPI, but if you have anything under a certain DPI, it'll look fine no matter how you do it, as long as you just change what you want. You don't have to change the fractional scaling at all, and then if you don't do that, you're fine. Like on my desktop, it did look fine. Everything was okay. I could change everything I want, but I was talking about my laptop with a high DPI.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So anyway, then I checked out FairnOS, which I think next to Solus looks the best for KDE out of the box. Like everything is just perfect, and it's so dark. It's literally like they turned the pixels off. It's so dark. I love that theme. It's amazing. It's problematic in some areas of the OS because it's so dark that things mesh together, but for the most part, it's pretty good. So let's see. Yeah, they in FairnOS, they fixed the problem of Dolphin by stripping it out totally, and they replace it with not Dolphin, Discover. They stripped that out and they replace it with the Mint Software Center, and also Dolphin, their file manager, they replace with Nemo, which I think is much better. I like Nemo so much better than Dolphin. It looks better. It functions easier to me. Maybe it's because I know it so much, but I just feel like when I do things, it's just straightforward. And in Dolphin, I just feel like I can't navigate, and that could be the different settings in Plasma that they have set up.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Farron. I've been following it since at least 2016. Yeah. And it started out as being a variant of Mint, and he was trying to theme Cinnamon, and he got to the point where he just couldn't do enough with Cinnamon and decided he had to do KDE, and to do that, he couldn't use Mint. So, but he still uses a number of Mint tools.
Yeah, which I like. I do like the Mint tools that he uses. And yeah, and that one I could definitely live with. FairnOS I could live with out of the box without changing anything. The high DPI is still an issue on that, and I just all you got to do is change the high DPI, change it to 125%, 150, whatever you need, and then just tweak the individual things to scale properly. Like you have to do all the fonts and everything to scale correctly, and if you do all that, then you can get it to look pretty decent. And with FairnOS, you're able to change the accent colors and all this stuff very easily right from the welcome menu, and you can change the look and feel of it. Like you can change it to look like Windows, you can change it to look like Mac, you can change it to look like Unity, like right from the welcome menu. I love that. Everyone should do that. It should be that easy, especially for Plasma. If all Plasma distros did that, there would be no problem with me. I would say that's great. Everyone should use Plasma, but they don't all do that, and they don't all explain it that well. And then I did mention Solus, and I would hands down say everyone should just use Solus Plasma if it wasn't for the fact that, one, they don't have a lot of packages, and I know that Flatpaks can solve this, and snaps don't. I don't know if they work yet or not in Solus, but they didn't last time I used it. And I know that solves it, but the other problem with Solus for me is I actually have in the show notes that they are on 5.7 kernel. They're actually not even on 5.7 yet. They're on 5.6, and they say they're a rolling release, but I don't see them patching the kernels that they're using. So I don't understand how they can keep saying they're rolling release. I don't know why they don't just switch to the LTS kernel if they're not going to keep their kernel up to date, because there are a lot of bug fixes and vulnerability patches that have come since 5.6 till now that they're just not addressing at all. And I installed Solus last night. I updated it all the way that, every package was updated to today, and it's still on 5.6. And I don't understand what's going on with them. Even their roadmap for 2020 isn't even filled out. It's just blank on their website.
2020 is over, man.
I asked Josh Strobel on Mastodon when they're going to upgrade the kernel, and he didn't even get back to me.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, you can switch to the LTS kernel, and that's going to be fine because that's going to have all the patches right from the upstream, but you have to know how to do it. And it's not that simple in Solus. You have to do some command line trickery to get it to work. And I mean, not trickery. It's a couple commands, but still, you got to know what you're doing. It's magic. But you still got to know what you're doing to get it to work. So I just don't feel it's secure anymore enough to say anyone should use it. Now, I know Linux is niche in the first place and you're unlikely to get attacked, but if you do, I don't want to be the guy that told you to use it and then you get attacked and then you blame me. So I wouldn't suggest Solus unless you're literally just out there for the looks and you don't care at all about anything else. Then their Plasma is good because they themed the GTK and everything right out of the box. Everything's dark. Everything looks perfect. The high DPI obviously is still an issue. You can't fix that with theming, but the theme is perfect on Solus as far as I can tell. So yeah, I think I went over everything here. Oh yes, and the one last thing I wanted to mention was that I'm currently trying out Manjaro Cinnamon, and it's just amazing. I love Manjaro Cinnamon right now. It's so easy to install. I don't need to use the architect of Manjaro because they have it's like a net installer of their system. I don't even have to use that to get Cinnamon. I just download their Cinnamon edition, which is a community edition. It's not official. And I just set it to ButterFS, and it does all the things that I want it to do for my SSD. It optimizes all that and everything right out of the box. Sets up everything for time shift, just like Mint would or Ubuntu. And it's Cinnamon, so I like it.
Yeah. I am running Manjaro Cinnamon on both of my computers.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, no, Manjaro Cinnamon I think that's what I'm using right now for the mintCast. It's amazing. I didn't have to do any flat packs. I didn't do snaps. Everything was in the repo. Everything was up to date, and obviously it's working because I'm using it. Oh, and also I fixed my volume issue because Fuzzy was saying that the volume was not too low on mine, but it was lower than you guys. So he wanted me to see if I could get it to boost. Well, right out of the gate, this has a program that I can boost the volume for my mic past 100%. Right now I have it on like 113, and it's definitely higher. That's what he said. He said it was really it was perfect now.
Was it PAVU control? Pulse audio volume control?
Let me see here.
You can get if it's just boosting, I think you can boost up to 130%. You can do that on Mint as well. Yeah.
Well, I looked.
But you have to have PAVU control. You have to install that after the fact. Yeah.
But I looked online to see if there was some way I could do this, and I searched for a long time and I couldn't find anything that would bring it past 100%. I tried that. I think I tried that. I think I tried also Mixer. I'm trying to see where my well, anyway, I'll keep looking for it. I'll let Joe take it from here, but I'll keep looking for it and I'll mention it later if I find the one that I got it to work.
I wanted to butt in first with Infinitely Galactic has a wonderful video on Farron OS and how he gets so many things right for a new user. And I just wanted to plug that.
Yeah, I haven't got to watch that yet. I did want to watch it, but I forgot about it. So yeah, anyway, Joe, what have you been up to?
Well, worked with a lot of hardware recently, and I have mostly stopped talking about books on here, but I read two recently that I really wanted to mention. One of them is Ready Player 2 by Ernest Cline. That's a sequel to Ready Player One. I thought it was very good, even though there is quite a bit of controversy around it right now. It's not as good as the first one, but it's still a good read.
Yeah, sequels
And
never
then-
are, right?
Yeah, usually. And Ernest Cline is still, I don't want to say a young author, but he's still a new author. I think this is only his third book. And then the other book is Rhythm of War by Brandon Sanderson, which is the fourth book in the Stormlight archive. And yeah, that book is really good. It's 60 hours of audiobook, but well worth it. And I definitely recommend checking them both out if you get the opportunity. Well, I'm on to hardware. I decided to put one of the more messed up PSPs that I have into a new cover. It was the one that had the button issues and the front plate issues and the UMD drive not working. And things really didn't go in my favor with this one. I was able to get all removed easy enough despite the strip screws and the wrong size screws from the last guy that took it apart. I got it most of the way put back together, and then the power switch broke off of the side. It was already loose, I swear. It wasn't me that did it. I was able to desolder the power switch from that one and one from a known bad board that I had and move it over. But I had a lot of trouble getting the position just right and had to do it over again a couple of times until I ended up putting it up at the far end of where it should sit. So, like, the connections were barely on the pads at the one end, but that made it so that the switch in the new casing actually, or on the outside of the new casing, was actually able to turn it on and put it on hold. At that point, I also started having some problems with the ribbon cable that goes to that board, but I was eventually able to get it seated properly. I had to take it apart and put it back together in the new case several times due to small errors and trying to get that front case seated properly, which never really did. I think it was because the one side of the motherboard is higher than it should be, and the joystick didn't want to work because of it, and the volume down was stuck the way it was last time I tried to fix the device with a new front. And I was really hoping that it was just the casing that was bent, but turns out it was probably the motherboard. Being disappointed in how that turned out, I decided to pick up another broken PSP for $20. This device supposedly had a broken screen and charging issues, and I had an extra screen from the one I had just, tried to put together and didn't work right. I got very lucky with this $20 device, and the only thing wrong with the device was a bad battery and a broken outer casing. The screen was absolutely fine. One of the previous PSPs that I had purchased for $20 had come with 2 extra sets of buttons, as well as a full housing, brand new full housing, the one I had just tried to use, and it also came with a brand new piano black faceplate. I put the faceplate on and put one of the batteries into it, and it looks immaculate. I almost wanted to take it apart and verify that it's the original screen and not an upgraded one because of how good it looks. Now I also have a broken original Sony battery to work with as well, which I will be able to do a battery mod for, since the internal cells are bad. I'm just gonna replace those with like a full-size cell phone battery and see what happens. But I'll have to wait until either I get another device with a bad UMT drive or I just really feel like doing it. I've also tried to do some small, thin prints with PETG, and it has not worked very well. Evidently, PETG doesn't do well in the 1mm range. Granted, it took me several tries with various settings to go and look at what other people had to say on the subject before I came to this conclusion. So the item that I was trying to print, the hinge for Skull Candy Crushers, I may try to print it in ABS and see how that turns out. PLA works, but it's too soft for long-term use. ABS might be too brittle. I could try with something like carbon fiber or something similar, but that would require quite a bit of refitting of my 3D printer. My laptop, my MSI GE72 6QD, my gaming laptop that I'm using right now, was overheating while gaming. It wasn't doing this before, so I don't know if it was a change from the new update for Borderlands 3 or the laptop itself. So I decided to take it apart and clean the fans and replace the thermal paste. It's usually not difficult for this particular laptop. It's a 17-inch laptop, so everything's really easy to get to, and they made it somewhat easy to take apart in order to be able to put in things like the M.2 hard drive and replace the RAM and things like that. My problem was one of the screws that connected the heatsink to the CPU stripped at the very top in a very inconvenient location down next to another heatsink, and the arm that holds the first heatsink into place is extremely thin. The only thing I could do was get out my Dremel and the cutting bit and cut a new groove for a straight tip instead of a Phillips head screwdriver. It worked, and I didn't mess it up. It was extremely nerve-wracking, though, because it would not have taken very much of a slip in order to ruin my laptop. So far, I'm happy with the results. I haven't done much gaming since I replaced the thermal paste and put it back together, but it seems to be running relatively cooler. So that's kind of what I've been up to, other than what we're going to cover in the innards, which is much more software related. Leo?
All right. Well, that'll do it then.
I mean, unless anybody has any questions about anything.
Maybe.
Hmm?
All right. Well, then we'll head on to the news. All right, Moss, you got a lot of news down here. Tell me about an IPO. An IPO, another public Linux company.
Suzy is going to go public. They rumor. It's a rumor at this time. But the rumor also says they're expecting to get $6 billion in the IPO.
Well, I mean, rumors are basically facts, right? So, I mean, yeah. You heard it here first, folks.
Nah, you didn't hear it here first. Where did we hear it first? We got it on ZDNet.
Oh, is that SVJN? Is he hooking it up over there?
Don't know. Let's
yeah,
see.
Sure was. SJVN. I always get his initials wrong. But yeah, Stephen J. Von Nichols. Yeah, always keeping the finger on the pulse of Linux and everything Mint. He's a Mint guy. I love that.
And the next thing we have is the monthly Pine 64 newsletter. And oh boy, they got everything. The Pine Phone KDE Community Edition. New news on the Pine Tab, on the Pine Time, on the Pine 64, the Rock 64, the Pine Cone, and even the Pine Sill, which is a open source soldering iron.
You know, their big boy Pine Rock thing, basically beefier pie.
Yeah, the Rock 64.
I was really tempted to get one of those. Because Diet Pi works on that too. I mean, pretty much everything that works on the Pi works on the Rox stuff. And man, it's just so nice. I just don't have a lot of use for it. So I think what I might do one day, if I don't buy Pis, I'll probably buy a couple of Rox and do some kind of Docker swarm or something with it, just to do that on the cheap instead of having to buy computers.
Yeah, if I had any money, I'd probably buy everything they make. Yeah.
Yeah, they've got good stuff over there.
Yeah, and I know you were talking about them having an open source soldering iron.
Yeah.
Which is cool. And
that's the Pine Sill.
Yeah, my next soldering iron will probably be either that one or the TS100, which has a large hacking community around it. Or
Okay,
custom firmware
explain to me
around
why
it.
you'd want to hack a soldering iron.
Well, you change the speed at which it heats up, or the speed at which it cools back down if you don't use it for X number of minutes, so you don't worry about the amount of oxidation on the tip.
Okay, now that makes more sense to me.
Little things like that. Or the TS100 has a screen on it, so you can decide what output to the screen, what you find important, things like that.
Oh, okay. Now that's way more intriguing to me.
Well, I don't know anything about Blender, so I'll let someone else take that.
Well, it's too bad we don't have Mr. Gumpster over here to tell us all about it. But yeah, 4th major release of Blender in 2020. I don't know much about Blender either, but if you are doing 3D modeling or video editing or Blender does everything, man. It does absolutely everything. But it's got, I think one of the coolest things is that when you're shaping clothes on a model, it's got collision support, better collision support for the clothing. So you don't have to spend so much time getting the clothes just right. You can kind of sculpt it the way that you want to. And I think just sculpting in general is way, way easier in Blender than it's ever been. So, yep, if you're doing 3D modeling, you're gonna enjoy some of these new features.
So the next thing up is Medita OS and the Medita phone. This is a beautiful and minimal open source mobile operating system for feature phones, not smartphones. You can't do internet on your phone, but you can use your phone as an internet hotspot. And it's a beautiful phone. It's got it's an e-ink screen. And that thing will last for weeks unless you're using it as a hotspot all the time. We have links to both the OS and the phone in the show notes.
Yeah, we took a pretty good look at this. Was it yesterday that we looked at it?
Yeah.
Ross?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a candy bar phone with, your standard buttons from the, early 2000s on there. And yeah, it does do 4G. I didn't see that it said 5G or LTE on there.
It did have LTE.
Okay. But yeah, it would be a perfect device just to have as a backup, toss in your bag, or to use as a mobile hotspot.
Yeah, it's completely open source. It's gorgeous. What was it? $349 for the...
Yeah, it was either $349 or $379. I think it was $349.
Something like that. I would love to have it. I really would. I could give my smartphone for this.
I remember when $349 was like the top phone.
Right?
I hate these high prices nowadays.
It does seem a little expensive for a feature phone, but it can also work as a hotspot. So I'll give it a pass on the
And you
price.
could pair it with something like Ting as a service where you just pay what you use, and that'd be perfect.
Yep.
I don't think we put Ting in the show notes, but I think we did that last episode or episode before that.
Maybe. And they're not a sponsor, so maybe we should,
Yeah.
Ting, can we have some money,
we don't have sponsors, yeah.
Yeah, right? That'd be nice.
Yeah.
Well, actually, the last time we discussed it, we didn't want sponsors, so
Yeah.
anyhow, I am a Ting user.
We're good. We're good.
If anyone wants to get on Ting, contact me. I'll give you a code, and that'll give me a little bit of money.
There you go. Anyway, so next up we have ray tracing. I think NVIDIA has been they've been really big on their ray tracing. Ray trace this and ray trace that. It looks amazing on NVIDIA, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, okay. So now we finally, on Linux, have a open ray tracing implementation that everyone can take advantage of, NVIDIA included. So NVIDIA, AMD cards, and the new Intel discrete cards, as well as internal on the chip Intel graphics, can now take advantage of ray tracing. So whether or not your card is powerful enough to handle the ray tracing, that's a different story. But we have ray tracing. So that is just a fantastic development for folks that do gaming and want the ray tracing. But another addition to Linux gaming is that we had DXVK before, right? Which was the DirectX to Vulkan implementation that allows us to play a lot of Windows games way better than we ever have before. We now have OpenGL to Vulkan. It doesn't have a crazy, unmemorable name like DXVK. It's got a name called Zink, Z-I-N-K, which does the exact same thing that that DXVK does. So I'm hoping that means that one day when OpenGL goes away, because it will, I don't think people are focusing on it nearly as much as they used to. They're targeting Vulkan a whole lot more now. But we might have there is a DX9K for DirectX 9 games. Hopefully we'll have like an OpenGL 1 and OpenGL 2 version of Zink as well, so we can play some of the older games, but still using a more modern platform. So anyway, yeah, and this, by the way, the I believe it's the OpenGL one that Valve is helping fund. That's one of the big things there. So Valve is still knee deep in making gaming on Linux a thing. So yeah. Go grab some of that autumn sale goodness if you're a Steam player. Well, anyway, that'll do it for the news. So we'll head down to Security Update. So we got a list of things. I had thought maybe I should put the Defender and the Dell stuff into the news, but it's fine. So Microsoft Defender, not for your desktop, for Linux, adds a new feature just for Linux. So this is basically just a feature that allows Linux machines to keep a tighter eye on what's going on in the system. So I think the real headline thing here, though, is that Microsoft Defender is on Linux at all. I think that's pretty cool, but it's just kind of become a pattern. Now we have Microsoft Edge for better or for worse. We have Microsoft Defender for better or for worse. We have PowerShell. We have VS Code. We have all kinds of stuff from Microsoft land that have made it over to Linux. So just this is just another thing to add to that toolbox. So keep in mind, Defender is only for servers. You have to have an active Defender subscription and to actually monitor and make use of all of this. So this just doesn't really affect us on the desktop. So I won't spend too much time on it, but it does exist. Yay. And Dell is adding webcam and microphone kill switches to the Linux kernel. This is pretty interesting, especially after you read a little bit of the Kevin Mitnick book, right? These are hardware kill switches that are done through keyboard combinations. But I think we were talking about this before, and this is basically Dell only, right?
That's what it seems to be saying.
Firmware kill switches, basically?
Yeah,
exactly.
Okay.
The hardware kill switches is kind of a misnomer there because it's killing hardware, but it's using firmware to do it.
Yeah,
would be my assumption.
It's not a hardware toggle. Like it's not on the side of the
It's not a physical
iPhone
button that you go back and forth with.
Right, exactly. It's not. This is what it seems like. It's not. The initial commits seem to show that it's really just mapping key combinations to I guess the firmware in the kernel.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
How I would do it is just to set up a script to dump the modules and use combination to do that, and then another key combination to reload the modules. So maybe they're doing the same thing.
I don't think so, because I think what ends up happening there is that you may drop it from the Linux kernel, but if there's something going on in the firmware itself, your mic and or camera may still be accessible by some bits. So I would imagine it's going to be a deeper down fix than that.
Okay.
I would hope so. Because
Well,
this
I'm
kind
not
of
sure
gives.
how else you would do it, though.
Well, like Purism. I mean, they've got literal hardware disconnects. That would be the better way to do it, I think. But in lieu of that, I think Dell is just preventing any communication with those bits. I don't know. We'll have to see. Time will tell. But I want to say that I read that Dell's also backporting this to some of their older bits, older laptops and stuff. So maybe I misread that. I don't know. I would hope that they do that kind of thing. I mean, that's just a fantastic Dell value add if you can do that and go backwards with it as well. But certainly it'll be on the newer stuff. So Josh, this is something that affects you because I heard that you can drop an add-on now. So Firefox enables HTTPS only mode. Go turn it on.
Yeah, that's great because I got rid of HTTPS. Is it HTTP? Yeah,
HTTPS everywhere.
Everywhere. That's what it is. Yep. Yeah, I dropped that as soon as they released this, and I went in, turned it on, and works just the same. Nothing different.
Yep.
Except for it's built in.
Yeah, exactly. And my biggest concern was that I do have a couple of web servers that are running on HTTPS only, and I do not want to be, I guess, forbidden from going there. But that's not how it works. It will just tell you. It red flags it. It's like, hey, this is HTTP, not HTTPS.
And then it makes you verify that. Yeah, it makes you
Yeah.
verify that you want to go there.
Exactly.
So where do you go in your settings to turn that on?
Hang on. I got you. It's a hamburger menu because I just love saying that. And then hit preferences, go to privacy and security, scroll all the way down, and HTTPS only mode is at the bottom. And most folks, if you care about HTTPS, want to go with that first option, enable HTTPS only mode in all windows. They have another option that's just in private windows, and then they have another option that is just don't enable. And that is what it's set to by default, don't enable. So if you want this, go turn it on.
Got it. Thanks.
You're welcome. It's such a great feature that's only in Firefox without add-ons. I should get into jingles, huh? Well, I don't know what kind of jingle I would make for Slipstream. Joe, did this make it to your radar?
It did not. This is the first time I've seen
it. Oh my goodness, I love Slipstream because I have so many people, and in a professional capacity, that will look me straight in the face and say, no, we don't need a firewall. We have NAT. And I have to put my face in my palms. No, hey, listen, man. I put my face in my palms and I take a deep breath and I remind people that's not a firewall. But they're like, yeah, it is, because you have to have, you have to generate the request from the inside of the network before anything can ever actually come in from the outside. And I'm like, man, you guys really should still continue to use a firewall though, because nothing is perfect. And well, Slipstream comes along and proves me right. I love it when this happens. I will never admit when I'm wrong, but I love it when I'm proved right. Slipstream is quite literally a way to break this NAT protection. It dispels this myth that NAT is anything other than a glorified, what do you call those doors that you go in and out from the kitchen? Like they swing both ways, those like saloon style doors. That's really all NAT is. It's just saloon style doors, and all you have to do is figure out exactly how to get in from the outside. And let me see if I can get this gentleman's name, Sammy something. Let me see. Where's his name? Sammy Camcar. Figured out a way to push those saloon style doors the other way. So a high level bird's eye view of this is it's just drive-by JavaScript. You go to a malicious website that runs the JavaScript, And it could be anything. I mean, it's just JavaScript. You can click on an advertisement. You can just embed it into the website to where it just happens automatically. And that's it. That's quite literally it. Now the attacker can access your machines over TCP or UDP on any port that it wants. So this fully 100% defeats this idea or this notion that NAT is anything more than just masquerading stuff. It's not protection. And I do appreciate Sammy for blowing this up. Most of the time, there's really not a whole lot you can do. NAT is quite dumb for what it is. It does what it does very, very well. But, this shows that NAT is, not great. But the idea, though, is that you can't really change the way that NAT behaves. So to fix this, you kind of have to configure it in the firewall. So you can do a couple of things, right? Chrome is already fixed. If you're on Chrome 87, they have triaged this by blocking outbound port 5060 and port 5061. 5060 is for TCP UDP, 5061 is for SIP connection. So they can do this over voice over IP too, which is fantastic. And Firefox is going to have the same triage fix in Firefox 84, which is due out in a couple of weeks. So the major browsers are basically covering for you if you don't have a firewall. And yeah, I mean, honestly, it looks bad on them because it's a JavaScript type flaw. So, I mean, yeah, people are going to blame the browsers because, well, I was attacked via a browser. No, you were attacked via NAT. If you were not using NAT only as your only protection, this wouldn't have happened. But anyway, browsers are fixing it. And one of the good things about the switch to Chromium, like every browser ever except Firefox, is that if I say Chrome, it means all the other browsers too. So yeah, your Braves and your Vivaldis and your Operas and your thises and your that's, yeah, they're all if they're on Chrome 87, they'll all be protected from this as well. But yeah, so that's not a firewall. Just in case I need to say it again, it's not. So yeah, keep that in mind and update your browser. Anyway, I think I kept it short. That'll do it for our security update. So let's go talk about some Docker.
Well, not much in the Docker arena actually here, but there is some. Now, this was originally going to be a part of my bi-weekly wanderings, but because of our extension to let Leo read a little bit slower.
Listen, I like to read real slow and let it sink in,
Yeah.
Either that or I have no time. One of the two. I don't know.
One of the two. So I've kind of extended this out, and we're trying to make it into a segment here. And I am on my second pot of coffee, so...
so it's gonna go real fast.
It might, but we're trying to make it run for at least half an hour. Now, this all started because my Docker transmission Chrome setup stopped working, but I think this time, instead of it being PIA's fault, I think it was because of the changes in Openvpn. Because I tested the OVPN file that I had for PIA outside of Docker, and it worked just fine. But when I would log into the Docker session and test it from there using what is it, Docker execute bash, and I ran the same file, and it would throw an error and it wouldn't work. So I had to go through. I decided to run a virtual machine in order to get around this as a temporary fix. And I had to go through several different iterations of installing VirtualBox in order to get it to work. I started with the base install from the Mint repos, but it just plain didn't work. It was throwing some kind of error about drivers and modules. I did a purge, and then I added the repo for VirtualBox, and I tried both 6.0 and 6.1, but neither of those seemed to work, and for the exact same error. Even after I remembered that this was a new motherboard and went in and turned on virtualization in the BIOS. Then I did another purge and installed the main version of VirtualBox, and everything started working. Inside that VM, I installed the Mate version of Mint and allocated 2 gigs of RAM and started out with 32 gig of hard drive space allocated dynamically. Then I set up a shared folder between the host and the VM, which has some issues that I will get into shortly.
How did you share the folder? What protocol?
I used inside VirtualBox. There's a shared folder feature.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I got you. Okay, I thought you meant like SSHFS or something like that.
No. I might switch to that, but that is within my discussion here because, like I said, there's a small issue with that shared folder. Actually, there's 2 issues with that shared folder.
Yeah, anytime I do VirtualBox guest editions and the features that are included with that, there's always a catch. Like things mostly work, but then you'll hit that one thing where it's just like, well, this is annoying, and then I don't know, that every time it happens to me, I'm like, yeah, how do we do this some other way?
Yeah, well, okay, the 2 issues with it. The first one is the timing of when it mounts, and evidently that shared folder mounts after all of the systemd options have run, and that is a problem because of how transmission works. And then the other issue being that the client system, the VM, doesn't actively look for changes in timestamps on a mounted folder like that. I don't know why that is. And that's super annoying when you want to set up automated processes.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and that's usually what makes me fall back to using something like a CIF share or SSHFS or something else. Yeah.
Yeah, and I might convert to an SSHFS that has its own issues because of how I have this set up. I have the network extremely limited for this VM, so I would have to go out and then come back in to do the SSHFS mount.
Well, if you're just doing NAT, it'll still work. Even you get that 10.02.15 IP address for pretty much everything. It still works. NAT is not a firewall.
It would if I hadn't limited it even more, and I will get to that.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
Okay. After I had the shared folder set up, I made sure all the applications I needed were installed. These applications were Transmission Daemon, Transmission RSS, Openvpn, and IP tables. Cough, cough, IP tables. Transmission Daemon, and I had to make run as my user instead of the daemon transmission user that is normally there. That was pretty easy to do, modifying the systemd setup and telling it to run as me or the main user for my VM. Transmission RSS is an application for which you run a simple command that checks a configuration file and then checks the RSS feeds that have been given to it. It grabs the torrent files and then feeds them into transmission, which then downloads the files.
And these files are Linux ISOs, obviously, right?
Of course. Yeah. They're perfectly legal. You can get many legal feeds from torrents. Torrents are not just for illegal things, in the same way that Kodi is not just for illegally viewing television.
Family photos.
Whatever. But because I installed the newest version of Ruby, it is currently having trouble reading everything from the config files. Some of the regex doesn't work, some of the limitations doesn't work, so it's grabbing everything from the RSS. And that is an issue, but it should be easily fixed by reverting to an older version of Ruby. And then it should work. I think the issue stemmed from 2.7 release of Ruby, which changed how Ruby sees quotations in order for the next transition to Ruby 3.0. I set up transmission RSS to run as a cron job that goes off every 10 minutes. It can also be set up as a service that runs continually, although I think that eats up quite a bit more resources for no reason. I don't need it to be running every second. Every 10 minutes is probably more than enough. The next thing I set up was Openvpn as a system service. I have provided a link that I used as a starting point, and I have included that here in the show notes. Basically, you're using Nano to modify an Openvpn file, or the etc default Openvpn file. And the first thing you're going to do is uncomment auto start all. And then your config file needs to go to etc openvpn client.conf. You need to modify that config file to look for a password file. And inside that password file, you need to put the username and password, and then be sure to change the permissions of the file to 400. That way only the owner can see what's in there. And then you need to sudo systemctl enable openvpn at client.service. And then you need to do a sudo systemctl daemon reload, and you need to start the service. And then what I did to limit the traffic so that it would go through only go through the OpenVPN connection. I don't want any bleed out. I don't want
DNS leaks.
Yeah, I don't want it to use anything other than OpenVPN for its internet connection. I've even limited it so that it doesn't really allow for local connections.
So this is a callback to what we were talking about before. This is why you wouldn't be able to do just a simple SSHFS to anything else, right?
And it does require some explanation on why I did it or how I did it. But and obviously I can't know if there are any leaks that I haven't found or cut off, and there are still ways around it. There's easy ways around it, but I wanted those easy ways around it just in case I needed to be able to use it in a different way.
Well, you can use TCP dump. I mean, well, I guess you don't have to. You can use Wireshark since you have a GUI. But then you can just exclude the IP address that you expect everything to be going out of, and then just see what else there is. Because if it's your layer 3 stuff, I guess anything IP address based, if you get rid of the network interface that you expect everything to be going out of, then you'll see any other IP addresses in use, anything else local, anything else at all, and then you can whittle it down from there, which would I guess that would help anyway.
Right. And this is why I changed the user earlier on transmission to the main user instead of root, or the daemon transmission user. So that way the traffic is limited. This requires the use of IP tables, and I generated a script based off of commands that I found on the interwebs. I would put the link here, but I couldn't find it again after I did it. And basically it's a bash script, and I'm not going to go through each line of this because you all would hate me a lot. And what it does is it grabs the internal IP address, which is, because it's a VM, is 10.0.0.0, and then I tell it the group, which in this case is whatever group that I have set up on the VM. I included the user here, and then I limit it by interface. So the internal interface is currently set to ETH0, which is an Ethernet connection, which my VM doesn't have. So no real internal networking to any other boxes. And then the external one I have set to ton0, which is the VPN. Your VPN is always going to be ton0. I suppose if you had more than one VPN set up, I don't know how you would do that. It might end up as ton1. But yeah. And then there's a series of commands that says everything has to go through ton0 or it doesn't go out at all. as long as it's from that group, and that's the group of the user that I log in with. So the easy way around it is to create another user and then log in as that user, and that user to be able to use the internet regularly. I'm not planning on doing that, but the option is there if I need it.
So this is a pretty cool script. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, quite literally, it just blocks all the other traffic except for things that are going out of the VPN interface.
Right.
That's pretty smart. So it doubles as kind of a kill switch too. Then, so
Exactly.
if for some reason ton 0 goes down, I mean, like for some, I don't know, you lost power or whatever, and it's all coming back up or whatever, and
Right.
everything is just trying to communicate right then and there. You got Firefox open and transmission open and everything. If it's going out of any
It's
other
all
interface,
stopped.
Yep, exactly, other than ton
And that's
0.
what I wanted.
Yep, exactly. So yeah, cool. So this is quite literally the same way that, or the same rules that something like PIA or Mulvad or whoever would use when you turn on their kill switch option. Yeah, basically nothing
Right.
happens unless the VPN's on and active.
But you have to be using their application to
Right,
make that
yeah.
happen.
And to be honest, their application probably just does this.
Yeah,
That's probably
absolutely.
what it does. Yeah.
And all it is a series of accepts on the correct interfaces, and then rejects on any other interfaces.
Right. So I would, if you're curious about this, if you're kind of learning firewalls, we were talking about NAT before, and how NAT is not a firewall. It isn't. I promise you, it's not. And you wanted to learn how some of the firewall stuff works. This is a bit of complex firewalling that I think, look at the IP tables man page, and you can start to piece together exactly how everything is going together to make all of this work. It's really kind of fascinating. I do enjoy a bit of IP tables every now and then, even though it is a bit more complex than something like UFW or FirewallD. But yeah, so if there was someone that was a student in YouTube chat, if you are curious about how this works, then yeah, this is a good place to dive in and really learn how firewalling and ACLs and all that kind of stuff works.
Yeah, I know that there are simpler firewalls than IP tables. I've just kind of always defaulted to it, but I've also been kind of doing this since before there were things other than IP tables.
Yeah, there's a million ways to do it, but I think, UFW and FirewallD, they depend on IP tables underneath.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is really getting to the root of the issue.
I feel like such a nerd.
Well, listen, you're on a podcast about Linux, man. We're past that.
Yeah. Okay.
And that was Kagan, by the way, was the student I was thinking of.
Okay. Now I have included the script here, and it does limit all traffic from the user group to go through TON, which is the VPN. It also limits local traffic that's 0, like I said, but since there's no S0, it blocks all local traffic. Now, you do have to do some testing if you're going through this to verify that things are working. Next thing to do is restart the VM to test that everything is working as it should. After the restart, the first thing is to check your IP address, either from the command line or with something like curl ipinfo.io or from your web browser. If the IP address is different from the one outside the VM, then you know that most everything is working, because that means that your VPN is working at reboot. So you just compare the internal or the IP address inside the VM to the IP address outside the VM, and you know that it automatically started, automatically connected, and it's working. The next thing you need to do is kill the Openvpn service and check again. And to do that, you would use sudo systemctl stop OpenVPN and then try to load a web page. Nothing should come up. Essentially, it'll look like you do not have internet.
Let me hold on. Let me back up for just a sec, because the curl ipinfo.io thing is pretty fantastic.
Oh yeah, it's great.
So if you've ever had the question, hey, how do I figure out what my public IP address actually is? This is it. Install curl if you don't have it. So sudo apt install curl, and then you'll type in curl space ipinfo.io, and it'll come back with your public IP address. It'll come back with the host name, which will typically have your ISP's name in there somewhere. The city where it's coming from, the state or country that it's coming from. It'll even give you GPS location as well as the organization name. So this is really where your ISP's name is going to show up. You got postal code in there, time zone, and some additional information on ipinfo.io. But it's just a great little tool. It's a fantastic, well, it's a web page, I guess, that spits out information via curl. And yeah, so you don't even have to open up a browser. Most people will tell you to go to whatismyip.com, or there are a few others.
Search on Google for what is my IP, and it comes right up.
Google will figure that out for you too. But this is just a nerdier way to do it. Speaking of being nerds, here it is.
the reason I use this is because inside your VM, ifconfig is not going to give you your external IP address.
Correct. It'll give you just whatever your IP address is on your internal network.
Right. Your 10.0 address.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So this will give you the external one, and extremely useful, very quick. Now I did also, because I use more than just transmission, I also wanted Chrome to be able to do it. I also installed an extension that all I have to do is click on it, and it will give me my external IP address. And I have my normal external IP address mostly memorized, or I recognize it on site anyway. And I can tell that whatever IP address I currently have, and it does change for the VPN, is not my normal IP address. Okay, and then after you've done the systemctl stop openvpn and tried to load a web page, verified that it didn't work, you need to restart your VPN, and then check your transmission page, make sure that's working, and check that you can download a torrent and that it will automatically start and actually download. Currently, there are several things that I need to fix in this, even though it is mostly, it's working well enough for a start. Transmission starts before the location is mounted. We mentioned that before. It throws some errors within transmission that are easily fixed by once again restarting transmission. So I could probably fix it with something as simple as a cron script, which would just restart it again after everything else. It also may be fixable by forcing transmission to start later, adding a sleep command to the systemctl file. Or
one of the ways that you can do that, though, is you can set up the wants. When you set up wants and like some other service that starts late in the game, put that in there, put that service name in there, and it will wait until that one is loaded and gets a thumbs up before it tries to load the next thing, before it tries to load itself.
Okay.
So
and
the other thing is good.
The other thing I could do is set up an SSHFS mount through my DNS service, because it would have to go out and then come back since internal networking is blocked. And having that set up as a systemd service and have that simply run before transmission. And that shouldn't be too hard to set up either. Now, I already mentioned before the issues with Ruby causing the config files to not be read correctly by transmission RSS. And this makes it so that everything within an RSS feed gets downloaded and just the items that I want. But it also prevents me from being able to set the download location, or the, when it's finished downloading, where it would get moved to. So that also prevents me from creating an automated script to then move that file to where it would need to go afterwards to automatically be loaded into my Plex or my Subsonic or whatever. Like I said, I think I can fix that simply by reverting to an older version of Ruby, but I'm going to have to try it and find out. I also need to set the VM box to start up automatically on the host system's reboot, but that shouldn't be too hard.
I think that's just a checkbox in VirtualBox. You can set it up to start up headless, and then when you want to see it or whatever, you can always launch the GUI version of it.
I'll have to give that a try. Would
Yeah.
it cause conflicts if I was if the headless version was running and then I kicked off the visual?
The only thing it means in VirtualBox when you're running headless is that you don't have a monitor attached. Not like a physical hardware monitor. It'll still boot and not complain about not having video. It won't do that. You just haven't dedicated the RAM for VirtualBox to show up the screen. That's really all that means. So it wouldn't cause any conflicts. It would be just like you're starting it up normally. You just don't have, your viewfinder attached at that time.
So then do you later attach it, or
Yeah,
do you
just
kick off another VM?
No. It's the same VM. Like all you're
Okay.
doing is looking into the VM that you had already started headless. But at that point, it's no longer headless. You've got a screen into it. But it saves you probably 100 megs of RAM before you attach your viewfinder on it, whatever you want to call that. But works just the same.
Interesting.
Every other way.
Okay. Now I did limit the RAM on the virtual machine to 2 gig, but I ended up maxing out my RAM on the host system, which has 16 gigs of RAM. I think I'm going to order more, but I also think the issue might be some recent updates to Chrome, because I did notice the problem on another machine where Chrome is once again maxing out my RAM for some reason.
So
and it's not like...
Is it actually used RAM, or is it like cached or buffered RAM?
It looks like used RAM, because I was using FreeM to see how much, or FreeTech-M to see how much space I had left.
Yeah.
And it looked like it was actually being all used, and it was going into the swap as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that wouldn't be cached then. Yeah, that's...
Yeah.
Well, blame Chrome again. Hooray.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody else is having similar issues with Chrome, and it's been a recent thing, so I think it had to have been an update, but it is happening on multiple of my machines.
Really? So more
Yeah.
than one machine, it's just maxing your RAM out.
Yeah, if it was
Whoa.
just the one machine, I would assume that it was something that, I had messed up somehow.
Right.
But my other machine that I only use for the Linux Lugcast and Repetier for my 3D printer was having the same issues. And I think it has 8 gigs of RAM, but it does a lot less, and I usually have a lot less tabs open as well.
Yeah.
And it was maxing out on that one as well.
Well, this sounds like a job for Firefox.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never had the RAM issues with Firefox, and I don't know that I've had those RAM issues with Chrome, but Chrome does get a little hungry. Most of the time, it ends up in kind of a cached buffer style situation where, it's getting ready. It's just readying up that RAM for usage.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mind that at all. I mean, I've got plenty of RAM all over the place. And, even if I've got 16, 20, 24 gigs of RAM, it's fine to cache it. It just needs to be able to release it when it needs, when other things on the system need it. So yeah, unused RAM is wasted RAM, but when you're getting into swap, yeah, you've got troubles a brewing.
Yep. And well, there are other ways I could have set this up instead of inside of a virtual machine, and some of them might have debatably been easier. Instead of VM, I could have used a dedicated machine. This would have gotten rid of the mount timing issues that I have. But it would make the later transfer of files between that system and other systems possibly problematic. Pretty sure I could even do this with a Pi, and that may be my next project. Although space may be an issue, I'll have to dedicate some hard drives to it specifically just to be able to get things onto it and then dump them somewhere else. And I would still need to work out the kinks with Ruby. But yeah, definitely a Pi project, because I know all these things that I've mentioned will run on Pi. Transmission daemon, transmission RSS, Openvpn, IP tables, it'll all work from there.
That's pretty
Um,
cool. And anything else to get more pies on the show, man? I love them so much.
Right. Yeah, and then like I said, the only problem would be one that's on the Pi would be moving it somewhere else.
Well, flash drives are cheap, man. Like I don't know, 64 gig flash drive you can probably pick up for $5.
I'm trying to automate this as much as possible, not carry things from one computer to another.
Oh, no. I just meant for additional storage. Like you'll have your OS on the SD card, and that way you don't burn out the SD card. Flash drive might be a little more resilient. And
I've already got to replace a 4 terabyte and a 2 terabyte drive. So
no thanks.
I was just checking on that, Leo, and Amazon has the USB 3.0s, $7.99 for one or $11.99 for two.
What size?
For how big? 64?
64 gig, yes.
Yeah, that's not bad. Yeah, it's pretty decent. I mean, and it's if you're looking to do Pi projects, those SD cards wear out faster than flash drives do. So
and those are not off-brand.
Well, for something like this, I would need at minimum a 2 terabyte drive.
Ooh, loud. Okay. Yeah, well, I mean, those aren't too bad either. I think I saw external USBs for $65. 2 terabytes.
Well, right now, I'm looking at internals. Well, I have a RAID box that I need to repopulate because that's where my 4 terabyte, my 2 terabyte are. So, I 4 terabyte drives right now. It looks like I can get them new for around $60. Which is incredible.
That's about right. Yeah. I don't know. I guess the only downside to an external like that would be the spin up time. Those tend to go to sleep more often to save energy than an internal, maybe 7,200 RPM would.
Yeah.
Those park a whole lot less.
Yeah. Well, I'm not worried about that. I just need them for the space. Not trying to get to it in a hurry. Just get to a lot of it.
Oh yeah, well then, keep the externals in mind. That's how I'm running my Nextcloud box, and it's oh my goodness, it's so fantastic. I can't say it enough. That Pi is it was such a good investment.
Yeah, I guess I could after that's set up, it would use more space, but I could set up something like BT Sync, which doesn't care about my internal IPs at all. And we'll do it on its own from external IPs.
Yeah, I was thinking about doing some kind of sync as well. I mean, I have a Nextcloud app. There is a Nextcloud app, so I mean, I don't have to. But it would just be more of a fun project to do to see how it works and get everything, I guess, just synced up. Yeah, that'd be cool.
But that is, once again, like I said, using double the space, although I could set up scripts to move it off after it's moved over. And it's also, adding back in the complexity, which I was kind of trying to dial back a little bit. Now, another thing I could do is set up a router with a dedicated VPN and then have a machine that is only connected through that. But the problems with that is that it requires 2 dedicated devices, and it's probably a much easier setup. I would still worry about IP leaks. Also, that would mean that if I wanted to use a VPN on my local machines, that I would have to use a different setup on each of the machines instead of just being able to use that. Last but not least, and the one that I'll probably be visiting in the near future, I can knuckle down and learn Docker Compose and fix my Docker images myself. And granted, only one of them would need fixed. And I should be able to load it into Docker Compose, do an update, and then just after everything's updated, maybe I would have to revert Ruby back again. But after that, Openvpn should work, and I should be good to go.
Yeah, I've been meaning to get into a lot more Docker. I think I've been saying it for forever as well. But the ease of snaps, especially on an Ubuntu-based distro, just I don't know, man. It always makes me put Docker on the back burner. But I may or may not be coming into contact with another Pi 3B plus. I think maybe possibly. So Docker's going to be something I'm going to dive into. I might just do git t on Docker instead of through DietPi.
You know, when Docker first came out, it was the first major thing in, well, I don't want to say necessarily virtualization, but in isolated spaces, in C spaces, that was easy to use. And then it just never really took off the way Snaps did or anything like that.
Well, on
But
the desktop for sure,
yeah,
but I think Docker dominates everything else.
yeah, in the business world, it kind of does.
Yeah, because that's what drives Kubernetes. It's what, yeah, all of that stuff. I guess
Yeah.
Kubernetes does more than Docker containers, but I think you find more Docker in Kubernetes clusters than anything else.
But you know how you were saying snaps are so much easier.
They are. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
they really are. But you get that same difference in complexity between using Docker and using Docker Compose. So
Yeah, it is. I think there's a lot more forethought you have to have for Docker Compose. You have to know exactly what's going to happen with those containers, the multiple, right? Those containers from the moment you press go to the moment you tear it down, everything has to be defined. So it takes a lot more work than just, Docker run this and then, okay, Docker stop. And then Docker run. No, that's not quite right. Docker stop. And then Docker run. You got to do all that work beforehand and know what's going to happen and know how it needs to be set up. Yeah. There's
and
a lot
mostly
more work.
what I've done is Docker run.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, because a lot of the Dockers are that way, where I mean, you tweak a couple of settings and you turn it on and you're done, right?
Yeah,
But
and
when you get to situations where you need a database or you need to have another container that does this while this container does this, then Docker Compose looks a whole lot better. You might want to look into something called Podman.
I'll check it out. Podman.
Yeah, I believe it's a Docker Compose orchestration thing where it's still Docker Compose. You still have to do all that forethought and everything, but it's an easier way. It's not fully command line. It's over the web. It's on a web interface, so it's
Right.
just easier to visualize all of those things instead of just diving in head first.
Right. And the major issue with Docker run is, also one of its major features, the fact that the image is meant to be static. So you can't really do an update within it. This is what currently has it broken. So I can't do an update for Openvpn, which is why Openvpn is no longer working within this Docker container, at least for me. Maybe somebody else knows something that I don't. But I can't update it because it's a static image and it's not supposed to change. Which is a feature, but also, for me at least, an issue.
Yeah. I was looking back. It's not Podman. I have to find the name of the thing I was talking about. It's got a little guy with a jetpack on it, and he's flying away. Podman does similar stuff, but it's what CoreOS used to be. It's now Fedora CoreOS, and they use Podman to handle the container. So it would do the same thing if you don't mind using Fedora. But I got to find the name of the one that I'm thinking of. It's around here somewhere.
I know you guys were also mentioning that you wanted to, since we were discussing VPNs, that you were talking about maybe adding more to that in the innard section. So I don't know if you still want to.
Yeah, I think I ended up talking about it earlier because it was going to be a little bit about the Proton VPN thing and that it doesn't use WireGuard yet, but it kind of sounded like maybe they do use WireGuard. You just have to pay for it and you get access to it, something like that. But yeah.
Here, I know WireGuard is the up and coming thing, and it's somewhat better than OpenVPN, probably a lot better than OpenVPN. But I'm using OpenVPN because I'm more familiar with it at this point.
Oh yeah. I mean, if you're rolling your own, using tools that help you do it, it's likely OpenVPN. But I've heard that rolling your own WireGuard is not hard at all. There's like half as many questions that you have to answer to set up WireGuard because all that stuff is answered for you. Like in OpenVPN, you have your choice of a million different protocols to use for encryption. And the first question you have to yourself is, well, which of these is the bare minimum, right? Because they always give you those options where it's like, you could use this if you want to try and break and see, if you can steal information, right? But yeah, there is no choice in WireGuard. It's Cha-Cha. I love that name. Oh my gosh. Cha-cha, right? I mean, that's it. That's it. That's it's chosen. You have chosen by choosing WireGuard. That is the encryption standard.
The
And
girl from Greece?
maybe, yeah. And as WireGuard updates and older versions of Cha-Cha are broken, newer versions are pushed out. So you just don't have to think about it. And I think
I'm
that's
sorry to
something.
everybody born after 1995 that did not get that reference at all.
So yeah, I think WireGuard makes VPNing a whole lot easier to do. I think a common refrain
No.
I've heard is that I didn't know that I already was done. Like it was so easy. So
Yeah,
definitely.
I imagine that WireGuard has gotten a whole lot easier to use since it originally came out, especially since it's been in the kernel now for what, a year?
Yeah, since 5.6, I think, and that's been it's about a year. We're on
Yeah.
what, 10 now? 9 or 10 something?
Something.
Yeah, so it's absolutely fantastic, and I think, Joe, it might be you and me. If there is sufficient interest, those of you guys on the live in live chat now, just pipe up and let us know. If there's interest in a show about WireGuard and how to set that up, because it's just been on my back burner. Same with Docker.
Well, I know Moss has a lot of experience with setting up WireGuard. If he wants to do an episode where he runs the innards, I will gladly learn WireGuard.
So
well, I don't really see the need for it, because when you run WireGuard through Mulvad, it's all in the app. You just, there it is.
I think there's 2 different things that we can cover in a show like that, and one of them being we could cover what WireGuard is and why in apps like Mulvad it's good to use it, and how easy it is to use it to hop on that train. But I think the other side of it would be the complexity of setting up your own WireGuard server. So a lot of times you'll use a VPN to stay semi-anonymous. My thought with the WireGuard server is that when you're out and you need to get to a file at home, or you have a web service that you log into at home that you don't expose to the internet, you can use WireGuard to weasel your way into your home network and still access that stuff. I do this a lot with Nextcloud. I do not expose it to the internet and use VPN to come in.
Right, I use OpenVPN for getting into my home network. So
yeah,
it would be interesting to set up WireGuard, but I have to check and see if my Asus router has some kind of update where it will use WireGuard built in, or if I'll just have to simply do it from my server.
Yeah, I figured I would probably have to do a Pi of some kind with it, but I do kind of wonder if a Pi 1 would be able to handle it, because WireGuard is supposed to be a whole lot less overhead and just be more performant in general. So it's not like I need a lot of speed.
Yeah, if it's less overhead, then it should be able to, because I've used a Pi 1 as my gateway before and had OpenVPN set up on that without too many issues.
Oh, wow. Then WireGuard will fly. Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what I'll do with my my Pi 1, as well as let it be a little TMUX display something or other. I think that'd be kind of cool. All right. Well, those of you listening, you let us know. Should we cover WireGuard? Server setup, how to use it, why you would want to use it, the differences between that and OpenVPN?
We do have another issue here that we do need to discuss, but that's the next show. We were just talking about actually doing the Kevin Mitnick book, but we're also getting up to that time where I think the next show after that would have to be our what's it called, our end of year show, where we're talking about what's going to happen in the following year, predictions, and we also have to discuss our previous predictions. And then now I know you said that there was going to be another interview show. Is that going to be the show following that one?
I think it's the first show where we don't have anything planned. That's going to be the easiest place to put this person.
Okay, so our first show in January, I assume.
And this year looks like I'm going to be able to make that, because my annual con has been canceled thanks to COVID.
Oh, my annual New Year's party that I usually attend is online this year.
Yep, everything's online. Everything's online.
Oh, us. You can't forget HPR New Year's episode.
That's right. That's right. New Year's episode. Everybody get to they do like a 24, 48 hour long stretch of just continuous, right? Isn't that how it goes?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We should
Cool.
make sure that's in the show notes for next episode.
Yes, we should.
Absolutely.
Awesome. We'll do that. All right. If that's it, then we'll head on down to vibrations from the ether. All right. First up, we got Jim Daldry, just an informational email. He said, I was just listening to the Embedded podcast. Alicia White has come up with another free as in statement. Linux Mint and Ubuntu are free as in beer. Gentoo and Arch are free as in puppies. To be nice, they need some training. Yeah, I guess so, right?
Love
I guess
it.
so. That's perfect. Thanks, Jim. And we had a Joe on Twitter come to us with a question about Ventoy. He said, greetings. Have been trying to install Ventoy, but keep getting errors. If you could help, thanks. So he had an image that he sent, and it was, quite literally just the command you do to install Ventoy. It's the sh ventoy to disk.sh command. And for some reason it was saying couldn't find it. So I'm like, either try doing / ventoy to disk, or just, double check the spelling, because yeah, that's a thing. The spelling every single time. Use tab, by the way, and that will help a whole lot more. But he came back and said, finally, I got it. So I guess he figured out whatever it was, but he didn't mention what that was. I got the OS system on flash. Didn't work right. I tried to redo. I tried using a different flash, and it said something about Ventoy when I tried to redo flash. So I don't know exactly what's going on, but I said, send screenshots of the errors and also do an LSBLK. So that way we can help out a little bit more. But Joe, if you're listening, keep send us some screenshots and we'll get it figured out. So another email from Nick that Joe jumped in on and said, like the podcast and wonder if any of you could help. After updating in Mint 19.3, was unable to get to the desktop and had screen choice attached. Interesting. What do I do to regain OS, please? And I think maybe screenshots. Maybe that's what he meant. I don't know. Anyway, so he had some images there, and it was basically dropping down to your emergency
Rescue,
busy box.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, and all I said was I asked if he had tried fsck/dev/sta1, which was the drive that was having the issue.
And that apparently, in one of those screenshots, I think it was just that it was kind of off center, so you couldn't really see it. But yeah, he did do that, and it came back with some information that said something to the effect of file system check of the root partition failed. That ain't good. And corrupted orphan linked list found. And I followed up with, go ahead.
Yeah, I know you responded that it might be an issue with the partition, but this conversation continued just between you and him. He quit including all, so I didn't get to see that response, or I would have mentioned that I had this exact same issue with my server, and the problem ended up not being the hard drive. It ended up being my RAM.
Oh, how weird is that?
Yeah.
So
once I replaced the RAM, everything started working again, and I ran FSCK like 12 times trying to get that hard drive to work.
And it kept coming back with that same root partition failed or whatever?
Yeah, well, it would go through and say it corrected X number of errors, but then there were still issues on there.
Interesting. Yeah, so I let him know that, it's possible that it could be disk failure. But so anyway, so he sent back, I did that, got the message, not found. So disk you think is failing. And I kind of followed up with that. I say, it mentioned something about ButterFS on your partition. Are you using ButterFS? Because in the error messages, it had some ButterFS info, which was weird. Anyway, I said, outside of that, go ahead.
Sorry, no, that's what I was gonna add. Yeah, if it was a ButterFS partition, it'll tell you as soon as there's any error it detects, it will not mount, and that's exactly what's going to happen. Your file system is going to say that the partition didn't mount correctly, and that's going to be it. It's just not going to do it unless you go in with another USB and copy all your files over and or do a scrub. But that's only if it's on ButterFS.
Right, and I'm not positive that it is.
If it's not, the
I
disk is probably really screwed if it's at this point.
Yeah, exactly.
Or it's the issue that
ext4
Joe had.
ext4 is way less graceful when it fails.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought my SSD had died, and that might be the issue. But I was also getting other problems that were coming up on the side that were preventing me from booting at all. So even from like a USB stick. So his next test would be try to boot from a USB stick and see what happens.
So in the rest of my email, yeah, I mean, I say, unfortunately, yeah, it could be busted files. It could be busted disk. I don't know. But the bottom, the last line I say, the only other way to get at it would be to create a bootable Linux Mint USB drive and boot to that. Then run FSCK again against the partitions, and then let me know if you need help with any of that. So, I mean, if you get booted, then at least some of your RAM is fine.
Yeah. See, I was able to get booted, but then I would try to run the installer because I figured, let's try a full install, and then it would crash. Or I would try to run Firefox, which is built into the Linux Mint image, and that would work. And then I would try to run the installer, and it would crash even sooner in the install process.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So yeah, I guess to add on to that, just, I mean, click around, launch a bunch of stuff and see what's going on. You can even run the memtest86 from that bootable drive to get some RAM testing on it. So that might not be a bad idea. For some reason, it's acting weird when you boot up into that flash drive. Yeah. So anyway, so we're waiting, see if we can't get anything back on this. That was a couple days ago, so we'll see what happens. So last, we had some feedback from Linux Lover 114 on Reddit, and they say, another great episode, everyone. Leo, I heard you talking at the end about possibly making the episode shorter by you shutting up. Please don't do that. If anything, I would love it if the episodes were longer, although I'm sure that would be much more work for you. mintCast is my favorite Linux podcast, and I love hearing from you all. Even Moss. Just teasing. I love Moss too. All the segments are great. I especially love the community segment that you did for a bit where you interviewed random Linux users. You see where this is going? Yeah. Anyway, the whole point of this rambling post was just to say, keep up the great work and please don't make the podcast shorter. So I say thank you for the feedback. It's nice to hear, especially the good stuff. The 2-hour plus mark is probably where we'll stay, cut into 2 parts, of course, for the foreseeable future. My main
I'll just
concern...
tuck my tail between my legs and leave. You don't have to worry about me no more.
I said my main concern was that when we get all 7 of us in the room and the show balloons to 3 or more hours, people tune out. Glad to know you stick around. Please let me know if there's anything you'd like to hear us cover on the show, or if you're brave enough, we can do a community episode with you sometime. So they respond back, sure, I'd be happy to make my podcast debut with you guys. So, yeah, it's on the internet now forever. So, yeah, there's no going back anymore because it's now on a show. So, yeah, you're stuck now, Linux Lover. We're going to have you on in one of these episodes, which I think it might be a little while. Didn't we say we had the next few kind of figured out? But, yeah, new year, new community editions. I think that's going to be fantastic. All right. Well, that will do it for the feedback. So let's head on down to check this out. All right, and check this out. I don't have a whole lot of anything except for, don't forget that curl IP, what was it? curlipinfo.io, is that right?
Yep.
I'm just going to reiterate what Joe said earlier. Because that little command is super fantastic. I loved it so much so that I'm going to do my best to try and remember it now and forever because it's so useful. Really useful. So anyway, if you haven't tried it, go try it. It's instant. It tells you a bunch of information about you, and it would let you know if you think you're on a VPN, it will verify for you if you're on a VPN. You kind of have to know what your IP address is, but that's the idea, or what the VPN IP address might be. Anyhow, try it out. But Moss, something died. Oh no!
The death of Sabayon OS, one of my favorites, has resulted in the birth of Mochaccino OS. We have links both to the dying blog on Sabayon and the new website for Mochaccino OS. There's no ISO yet, but it looks amazing. It'll be available in Gen 2 and LFS versions.
So do you know much of the story behind this? So why is Sabayon going away?
Most of the devs just said, okay, we've had enough of this. But
oh, wow, yeah.
The main dev said, well, there's other things I can do besides this. And so he decided to come up with Mochaccino.
Oh, okay. So it's the main dev dealing with Mochaccino.
Yeah.
Oh, so okay. So what's Mochaccino's, I would say that French phrase, raison, whatever, d'etre. I don't know.
Well, like I said, it has both LFS and Gen 2 versions. Also, if you have Sabayon installed, when Mochaccino is ready to run, you can just update to it.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
D'etre.
So there you go. So there's an escape hatch for those
Right.
folks that are on Sabayon. This is cool. So Mochaccino OS uses Luet.
Luet as a package manager.
Yeah, which is completely static, and it comes with two variants: Mochaccino Micro and Mochaccino
Which is
Portage.
muscle-based, using Linux from scratch. And Mochaccino Portage, they're going to be actually not using Portage so much as Luet.
I like this. So no frills. Mochaccino OS uses a layered approach for common packages, smoother upgrades, so you can focus on the things that matter. Huh. Pretty cool. So,
and I assume it's going to be every bit as fun as Sabayon has been.
That's cool. Hey, I do notice on their website, top left, where they've got their name, Mochaccino OS, they need to do some space or some font differentiation, because it's spelled Mochacchinus. What is that? What? Yeah, maybe that's a bug report we need to file.
So yeah, it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. Basically, the static package manager, it says versioned root FS as layers, delivered as upgrades or multiple single packages. You choose the format you like. Muscle, server variant, we can get you covered. And it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun, and I can't wait for it to come out, although I will stay away from the LFS version myself, because I'm just that kind of guy. The other thing I've got here is, if you're looking for other places to talk Linux, FossPost has a link, open source Linux communities, on their website, and it'll give you a whole page of things that you can go talk to people that you may not have known about. And that's what I got.
Well, to add on to that, what I did notice is in that post, they have the Ubuntu forums, the Fedora forums, the OpenSUSE forums, the Arch Linux forums, the Gentoo forums. You know what they don't have? The Linux Mint forums, and that is forums.linuxmint.com, just in case you want an additional community to join. And there, of course, there's
they didn't have all the forums that I'm in either, but still.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying we're a Linux Mint podcast, so I mean we kind of got to throw it in there. And they've got open source communities on Reddit. Don't forget, there's a Linux Mint Reddit as well
Linux
as
Mint MeWe is pretty active.
Also true, as well as the mintCast Reddit. And the mintCast, MeWe, and all of that kind of fun stuff as well.
And linuxquestions.org.
Yes. Cool. I just felt like I had to throw some Linux Mint love out there.
All righty. Joe?
Okay. Well, we did have one listener who's pretty active in our forums.
Not just listener. He's responsible for the logo.
Yeah. Okay.
That's right. That's Hob.
Yep. Well, he has created his own podcast, and it's called Big Aussie Prepper, and it sounds pretty good. I've only listened to the first episode, because I think only the 0 episode and the first episode are out. I've included links. I don't know, this should get included in the show notes, but check out Big Aussie Prepper. I've also included the RSS feed so that you can just subscribe to it if you want to. And then we were discussing it earlier. I put the link for Hacker Public Radio in there. It's hackerpublicradio.org. And it has the information in one of the articles about how to access the New Year's show. And it also includes 2 adverts that we could potentially include into a podcast if we wanted to. So I don't know if we want to do that for next show or something.
Well, they approached us last time to do a spot for I think it was Christmas or something like that. So yeah, if they do that again,
It was a
I'll
New
be happy
Year's
to do
show.
it. Ah,
Yeah.
New Year's, yeah.
Right
I'd be happy
now,
to do that.
it's just you grab the download from the link. There's an OGG and an MP3. So I guess we would grab the probably both, and then just include that spot at the end of our show.
That sounds good to me. I would love to do that. Oh wait, Owen might love to do that.
Owen
I can
might
always-
love
I
to
can-
do that.
I can always play it at the end of the live stream though. That would
Yeah.
work. Cool.
Yeah, and they're
All right.
just right there, ready for download. Just click on them.
All right. Well, next episode we'll do it. Cool. Well, that will do it for really the show. So let's head down to the announcement, which is our next show will be Sunday, December 13th at 2 p.m. Central U.S. time. And we've got a link for you to click just to figure out what time that might be in your local time zone. Remember, for those of you that are listening live and for those of you that are getting this in the podcast, if you're getting this in podcast form, that means there's 1 week left to get Kevin Mitnick's book read. So you can join in on the conversation and give us some feedback and let us know if there are bits of that book that you want us to dwell on a little bit. I think that, yeah, right now is a good time to get read up on that and let us know. All right, that does it. So where can we find more of you outside of here, Joe?
Well, you can catch me on a couple other podcasts. I'm on the Linux Link Tech Show, which is at www.tllts.org. We record on Wednesdays. You can catch me at the Linux Lugcast, which is www.linuxlugcast.com. We record the first and third Fridays of every month. I'm on MeWe, or you can send me an email directly, jb@mintcast.org.
And Bo's not here this time around, but you can get him at undercastnetwork.com or Undercast Collective, his channel on YouTube. Moss.
Well, you can find me on It's Moss. We still need a lot more people contributing to It's Moss. Please send me an article on anything you want to talk about having to do with Linux. MeWe, blogs on Peaceful Hippo and LinuxQuestions.org. My music is on Bandcamp and on various YouTube channels. There are 3 links hidden there in the show notes. And you can write me at moss@mintcast.org. I am at Zyvala at hosthux.social on Mastodon and distrohoppersdigest@gmail.com. And I have a sponsor. I still have one sponsor. Anyone want to help me out? Send me things or sign up to send me money or PayPal me something, and I'll stop talking about me and we'll talk about Tony Hughes.
He is on HPR, speaking of. He's host ID 338. He occasionally blogs over at tony-hughes.blogspot.com, and you can get him on Twitter at TonyH1212, th@mintcast.org, or distrohoppersdigest@gmail.com over email. Tony Watts not here either, tw@mintcast.org, or just search up Echoes of Savages, the band. And Josh, what about you?
You can find me at joshontech at protonmail.com and at joshontech on Twitter and pretty much every other social site.
Hey, how did the email recovery go? Did you lose everything?
Yeah, everything before that date is gone, but it wasn't that big a deal because I didn't have it. I have basically had nothing transferred over to Proton Mail
okay.
yet, so
Well.
it wasn't that bad. I learned something before it was a big problem.
Hey, see, that's the best time. Nice. As for me, you can check out leochavez.org for my long-form rambling, at Leo Chavez on Twitter for my short-form rambling. You can email me at leo@mintcast.org. or listen to the other shows I'm on, linuxuserspace.show or Full Circle Weekly News.
So we don't have a mintCast email for Josh yet.
No, I'm lazy. Or y'all could set it up. No takers? All right, cool. I'll get it.
Eventually,
So-
one day.
I could. I know I used to get in there a lot and tinker around, but I'll just leave it to you, Leo.
Aw, thanks. How nice. Before we leave, we want to make sure to acknowledge some of the people who make mintCast possible. Owen Peary for our audio editing. Josh Lowe for all his work on the website. Hobstar for our logo. Go check out his podcast. And Londoner for our time sync. Bytemark Hosting for hosting mintcast.org and our Mumble server. Archive.org for hosting our audio files. HPR for our backup Mumble room. And of course, the Linux Mint development team for the fine distro we love to talk about every fortnight.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Clem.
Clem.
Thanks, Clem.
And Co.
Woohoo!
Yay!
And we are out.
And right at about an hour and a half. Look at that.
Yeah,
I
I
bet
didn't really
Owen-
get to look
I
into the
got
innards too much, so I
212
didn't have
on
too much
mine.
to say.
Yeah, I got 212.
Yeah, that's going to pare down. That's going to
Yep.
pare down
I'm
to
turning
about
mine
an hour
off.
each. Okay.
I am saving mine. There we go. Export, baby.
What's our number?
Our number?
345?
349.
349.
Yeah, 350. The big 350 is the Kevin Mitnick show. I think that's going to work out perfectly because we can say, we're doing something a little different for our 350th show. It's a special one, something. All right, I haven't figured out how to market that yet, but I need to on Twitter real quick like.
Yeah, I'm going to have a larger file this time.
What'd you do?
I started talking a lot more.
Oh yeah, that's right. You
Mm.
are the star of the show today. And all I did was interrupt
Yay.
you a bunch.
Oh, no worries. I appreciate that. The whole discourse, it gives me new ideas. And
I got lucky. I didn't save my project. Okie dokie. Now, where did I save it?
All right,
I'd
so-
hate to be stuck in an echo chamber and then not get new information.
Yeah, I love the banter, man. That's my favorite thing about all of this.
Do we have a 349 folder?
I didn't make it. If it's not there, make one, I guess.
Where is it?
Show -audio. No 349 yet.
New folder.
Yeah, no, not yet. For me either.
349.
See, if you're listening on the live stream,
Audio.
you can see how prepared
Organized we are.
we are. Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
I didn't
This
even chime
show
in on the
runs
internet
so
at all.
smooth.
The consummate professionals that we are.
I had one day to look up on the innards, and I was like, yeah, this is not going to work.
Let's see. Yay,
All right,
there's
now- there it
349.
is. Yep.
Oh, I did it in the right folder. Oh, okay, cancel. Let's try this again. Open the folder. Now let's upload it.
Should be this one.
There we go.
I think that's the right one. Yeah, that's the right one. Okay.
Okay. I don't know why I keep leaving my audio to go.
That's weird. Now it's not uploading. Well, let's cancel that. and try again.
Yeah. We
I'm
got
in
the thumbs up.
349 audio. New file upload. That one. And 9 minutes left. Why 9 minutes left? I'm getting nothing here. I mean, when I was uploading to the wrong folder, it went Zoom.
Yeah, maybe
It's
it's because
probably
everybody's trying to upload.
Well, no, I think it's it never stops your previous thing, even though you cancel it. I've done that a bunch of times, and it's annoying. It just keeps doing the old one, and then it'll get to the new one. But yeah, dumb.
Okay.
You
That is
gotta
dumb.
close out of the web browser altogether and then come back in?
Actually, that'll probably cancel it.
Yeah, I don't
That's
think I'm
usually what
going
I
to do
do.
that. I'll wait. You'll get it eventually, guys.
There it is. Black file.
So, Joe, the thing with Chrome, you said it was using a lot of RAM.
Yeah, Chrome is
on yours?
trash.
I don't
Delete
understand.
it.
It must be something because I have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have 8 things open, and Chrome is one of them, and I'm using about 5 gigs of memory right now.
You heard it here first, folks. Joe's doing it wrong.
Well, it's entirely possible. How many windows do you have open in Chrome?
Chrome has 3. Firefox has 1.
Okay, those are rookie numbers.
No, you gotta bump those numbers up.
Okay.
Got rookie numbers. Oh my god.
Yeah.
But it's
Hold
all
on.
Google
How many
stuff.
tabs are we talking, Joe?
15 at least, maybe.
Oh
maybe.
shoot! Yeah, well, no one.
But
can
I was
compete
having
with
the
that
same
with
issue
3.
on my other system, and that had at least eight tabs open.
Yeah. Well, my cached is at 11 gigs. So that I don't understand.
Yeah, and like I said, I was dipping into my swap, so
yeah.
But
I don't know
let's see
why
if the
mine
same
did in the swap,
happens
but-
when I'm running 32 gigs of RAM.
It better not, or else you'll have something wrong.
Right?
Yeah. Like I'm saying, man, cached is fine, but yeah, if it's touching swap, it's doing it wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. But it might. Facebook uses a crap ton of RAM. Basically, no matter what you do. So.
Hang on, let me see. Let me
Dang
quit
JavaScript.
out. Let's see what happens. I'm just gonna open up a Chrome and see what it looks like. Because I'm not sure if because Owen said he uses bpytop and it spikes his RAM often 15 to 20 tabs, 16 gigs of RAM on a T540p. But I'm curious if the RAM that it reports, if it includes cached or if it doesn't include cached. Free HM.
See what it's running on this machine. This machine's been running pretty smooth and have plenty of tabs open.
Yeah. And it looks like bpytop counts cached memory as used memory, as it should. It should, because it is.
No.
Oh wait, no, hold on. That was an SSH session.
I haven't run the most recent updates on this laptop because it's the one I had taken apart and put back together, and I didn't want to, do it during the show. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 Chrome tabs. And this has 16 gigs of RAM built in, and it's only using 3.8.
Oh, I get it. Hold on. So used is the addition of used and shared in free, and it does have its own section for cached.
Yeah.
That would explain in bpytop. That would explain that. So yeah, I mean, like total actual used memory on my machine is 4.5 plus 3.5. Wow, that actually tells me I can't get by with 8 gigs of RAM anymore. Wow.
Every time I open a new tab of drive, it adds about 400 megabytes of memory usage.
That's a bit of an ouch.
Yeah, I'm just hitting duplicate, and I'm like, it's chewing away.
Yeah.
Quickly.
I'll get you every time. Yeah, honestly, and a lot of that really depends on what pages you're running, Joe. Because I mean, if they're really JavaScript heavy or something like that, and like they continuously run in the background, I could totally see how it'll just eat up your RAM and blow things up.
And if you don't have like ad blockers or anything, then everything just runs.
I run ad blockers. I run layers of ad blockers.
Yeah, same here. I do. Same one.
I mean, I have my Pi-hole, and then I have the what is it? uBlock Origin.
Yeah.
Yep.
Clean up
Oh.
anything the Pi won't get.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Yeah, I've done that before, and people yell at me that I don't need to do that, so I've kind of cut
Boo.
back on my blockers.
Don't listen to them.
okay.
I mean, if it's
you don't
multiple
want ads,
add-ons, and yeah, cut back on those. But this is two separate solutions. One is a DNS solution, and the other one is a JavaScript cleanup solution. So they do work in
Right.
tandem. But yeah,
And-
if you got
and
if you're-
the Pi-hole has limitations. Now it's great
Right.
for system-wide block of most ads, but it's not going to block ads on YouTube.
yeah, and but I think what they may be getting at is like if you have AdBlock Plus and then AdBlock and then uBlock and then uBlock Origin,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's you're shooting yourself in the foot.
Yeah.
Well, I was finding there were some things that got through some blockers and not others, and
Well,
other things that got through
Well,
other
yeah.
blockers and not some.
yeah,
the whole thing with
uBlock is
that-
pretty scorched earth. So
Right. It is, every time, just like with, vulnerabilities, every time a new block comes out, your ad people are going to find a new way around it. And
Yep.
then you have to have an update sooner or later that provides another block for the new one.
yeah, and the big
Right.
thing about Pi-hole and YouTube though is that YouTube hosts their own ads. Like if Ford gives them an ad, it's not hosted at Ford.com or ad.ford.com. It's hosted at ytwhatever.com. So, if you block that, you block YouTube. And this is how it can get through Pi-hole, and that's where uBlock Origin comes in.
Okay, guys, I'm done with the show notes too.
Yay! I'll be able to post. Hooray!
I
Did
shall
mine
talk to you
upload?
guys Saturday. Yeah, yours
Okay,
uploaded.
good.
I
'cause
didn't
I
see
was
Leo's.
screwing with this.
Yeah,
so.
I haven't dragged and dropped just yet.
So let's see.
I have
What?
I have
Sorry.
now dragged and dropped. So it'll be up there in a minute.
Now I have 25 tabs open, and right now they are using 3 gigs by themselves.
Oh wow, that's a lot.
Okay,
And-
I have a problem. It's a minor problem. My Firefox is starting to get rid of the top bar whenever I move off of it. What did I do to cause that?
Oh, I
Top
don't think that's a
bar,
Firefox
that
issue.
depends on what you mean by top bar. Are you
Where the
talking-
tabs are.
Okay.
Oh, F11.
yeah.
F11? I'm sure I did
You
not
full
hit
screened it.
F11. There we go. Thank you.
You're welcome. I was gonna mention YouTube DL, man. So their
Back and
GitHub is
gone,
back.
and
Yeah,
and gone.
Oh
Okay.
yeah.
but here's the thing. So I had to install pip3 so I could install the current versions of bpytop and get the current version of psutil so that it didn't scream at me every time you close it down and it's like, I can't read stuff. And I'm like, yeah, no, I know. But anyway, so I had pip3 installed for that. But you know what else is in pip?
YouTube
DL.
DL.
Yes.
It's always
yeah.
no, the most recent version of YouTube DL, the one that always actually worked, has always been pip3.
Yep, exact. And that right there just solved all of my issues because, the other way to do it was to download it from the GitHub and then make sure you had the right FFmpeg in the same directory and then you run it from that No, stop that.
Way too much
pip3, just
pip3.
way too much work. Just install YouTube DL and FFmpeg
is-
through pip3 and you're done.
This is me saying that was way too much work.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. So I'm so happy with this. I'm really, really happy with pip3, and I guarantee I'm going to find like 10 more tools out of pip that I'm going to fall in love with too. So it's a must install on every distro now.
Although I've cut back my usage of YouTube DL, I haven't. The podcast that I was previously using it for, just started watching on YouTube.
Yeah. I mean, I don't use it much, but it's one of those tools that it's like, if I need it, I want to have it, and yeah, pip3 allows me to.
Yeah, I've just been using NewPipe on my Android phone, and anytime I want a video, I just download it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do have to say, the YouTube DL commands that you end up using are extremely long and complex.
Yeah. Well, usually I'm just extracting the audio from something like a podcast or whatever.
Right. But even that, you have to, I don't know if you're doing it from the entire RSS feed or if you're just doing it from individual episodes.
Yeah, just individual episodes.
Right, but you still have to pull in everything and then cut out the audio and then get rid of the video and then encode it into what you want it as.
Yeah,
it ends up being a long command.
Yeah, let me see. I do have it. So it's 2 or 3 things. Number 1, it's -X to extract audio. --audio format is MP3, and then --audio quality is typically 0 or 1. And those are the only arguments that I have. But just those 3.
Okay, guys, I'm out of here. See you Saturday.
Right. It's good talking to you, Moss.
Sure, take care.
For sure.
Bye.
All right, and for everybody else still listening on the live show, thank you guys for coming. It was a good one. I enjoyed it. So y'all have yourselves a good week or 2. The podcast should be rolling out on Tuesday, and we'll see you again in a couple of weeks. I'm going to go kill the stream.
In Soviet Russia, the stream kills you.
Family Guy.
Wow. It really shows the difference in our age.
Why? What was that? Was that a different?
It's actually a reference to a comedian.
Which one?
Hold on, I have to look it up. It's been a while.